Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this deep dive of Wolfgang Petersen's 1984 Meta Textual-Fairy Tale, Die Unendliche Geschichte, or The Neverending Story.
I was wondering if you were going to throw in the German.
Oh, I've been practicing Geschichte the whole drive over here.
Oh, man. Yeah, this one is really interesting because I always knew as a kid watching this on VHS. This is one of the few ones that we had. Mm-hmm. And I watched it over and over, and I always knew it felt different somehow. Like there's something, like the storytelling style is very
European.
Yeah, it's just different. At the time, I couldn't put my finger on it, but it has a European fairy tale vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And it's obviously German. And this was one of those very few successful West German movies from the Cold War separated Germany time period. It was one of the very few movies that actually was kind of a blockbuster that wasn't made in America.
Yeah.
It was made in Berlin mostly, and it was made for $25 million, and it generated over $100 million.
Yeah, it was at the time the most expensive German production there had ever been.
And if people aren't aware of geography, so Germany in post-World War II was divided up into four pieces, actually. There was the Soviet portion, where because they came in, they invaded from the northeast, and then there was a French portion, an American portion, and a British portion. Okay, and the British and the democratic portions together, they decided to essentially unify them. And then, of course, the communist side was Soviet, and they decided to, have that be a communist thing. But the reason geography comes into this is because Berlin is fully within East Germany. It's not like a border town.
Yeah.
So it was basically an island of capitalism, half of Berlin, in the middle of a country of communism, where you could go up on the roof of these West German Berlin like glitzy hotels and look down across a communist bloc squalor with brownout power, and it was just crazy demonstration of have and have nots with the U.S. Funding West Germany, but the Soviets not having the resources to fund East Germany because they themselves were recovering from devastation in the war.
Right.
So it was a really interesting. I say that interesting from an academic point of view. Yeah. Disparity in lifestyle. So having this $25 million fantasy fairy tale come out of there when you have people literally half a mile away, like dying from malnutrition.
Yeah, that's
just
grim.
It's dark. Yeah,
and that there's sort of like almost like a class system that persists even in unified Germany, where the former Eastern Bloc parts of Germany are kind of underprivileged compared to the West. That persists.
America has similar. I mean, this is everywhere. People who are rich try to stay rich, and they have to do that at the expense of others. And the people who are disadvantaged, the system's rigged against them continuously. And it has been. This is humanity, not just. So I only bring this up at the beginning of this fairy tale episode because it colors everything when you watch this. Yeah. This European sensibility and this old world fairy tale style. It's not like The Last Unicorn or other things that we've watched.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's tonally very, very far off Labyrinth. That's probably closer, but you're right. The Last Unicorn is a decent comparison because it's a modern fairy tale as well. But tonally, it's very, very different than The Last Unicorn.
I agree. I think Labyrinth is probably the best direct comparison, especially because it has, modern day person and then story, etc. It goes back and forth.
Did you ever read the book?
No, I did not.
I read it as a kid, and then I revisited it, of course, for this. Shouts to the Fort Vancouver Regional Library for hooking up that audiobook when Audible didn't have it. Well, they had the German. They didn't have it in English.
Damn, you didn't listen in German? What kind of a deep dive is this?
Yeah. mein Deutsch, it's echt nein so good. I think for an American, I'm pretty good as far as like having a little bit of a lot of languages, but no, not so good.
I wouldn't even give it a try. Yeah. So this movie is really, really interesting. And one of the things that I found to be, fun in rewatching this as an adult, because I've probably seen this movie 100 times.
Oh, easily.
As a kid, is watching it now as an adult. I remember so many of the lines and so many of the scenes, but also I had forgotten this is a movie with almost all child actors.
All the principals, like all the leads are children.
Yeah, and I don't like child actors.
There's some good child acting in this, though.
Yeah, it's way above what I would have normally. I don't know. It's no Macaulay Culkin overacting.
No, yeah. I think you could say the kid that plays Bastian, that he overacts a little bit.
Yeah, he's the worst.
But it is completely in character to the character of Bastian. He is a dramatic, like in his head.
He's a little dweeb. Yeah.
And so the sort of like the way he talks to the book and talks to himself, I think that's all very much, that's Bastian Balthazar books right there. That's the kind of kid he is.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. So I guess we're going to get into this movie pretty in depth because we both have a long history with it. So let's just go ahead and roll for initiative.
Okay.
Got an 8.
15.
All right.
As always, I'm the obituator of the podcast, and so I want to R.I.P. Pamela Rook, aka Jordan. She is not someone that was in a band, but she is like a foundational punk rocker in the early British punk rock scene. She worked in Malcolm McLaren and Vivienne Westwood's shop. And if you've ever watched a documentary about punk rock or read any books about it, you've seen pictures of this girl.
Okay.
She passed away last week, and it's kind of, I think, even more sad because Danny Boyle's Sex Pistols series that's dropping on Hulu at the end of May. She was consulting on it. Her character is being portrayed by Maisie Williams of Game of Thrones in that show. And I'm just I'm bummed out that she's gone, and I'm bummed out she's not going to get to see that. Because it'd be really cool to, like, especially when you're involved in, like, having your story told the right way, or the way you want it to be told, and a powerful actor doing it. And then, she just didn't make it there.
Yeah, we're getting to the era where a lot of these original punk rockers they're elderly folk.
Oh yeah, in like their 70s.
Yeah, they're getting to what am I saying? Average life expectancy. Jeez, I can spit that out.
Yeah, it's weird because they're you see pictures, and they're old people, but like they're sort of forever young from the images we have of them are from the late 70s.
Sure. And it's always interesting to me when you see an older person and you can tell they're still cool.
Yeah.
They haven't given up.
She's kind of been in the London punk rock scene still someone that attended shows and stuff. You see this old granny with purple hair. And she's kept it real for 40 some odd years, and she'll be missed.
I always appreciate seeing those like old gray hair dudes with like the slick back hair and like a leather jacket, or you see a guy with a wallet chain and cuffed pants.
The retired punk rocker look. Yeah,
you see they're keeping it real. All right, so I got some nerd news. Okay. You know me, Warhammer 40K. I got a big announcement for 40K. if you're a fan of it.
Okay.
It's a science fiction game of warring factions. They announced a whole new army.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty huge. Normally, it's just they're announcing new units or new things for existing forces. But this is a whole new army, and it's called the Leagues of Votan, which is actually a kind of a retconned, reintroduced force from the original launch of Warhammer 40K, in which they were called Space Dwarves or Squats.
Oh, okay.
So we got Squats coming back. They were originally launched as Space Dwarves, and then they changed it to Squats, and now they're called Leagues of Votan. Because basically each holdfast or each planet in the group forms their own league, and then they're like an alliance of leagues.
Gotcha.
So
I'm
pretty stoked about it.
Always been kind of weird, the absence of dwarves in 40K, because dwarves are in regular Warhammer.
Yeah, and there's space elves, and there's all sorts of stuff. So I'm stoked about this. I would say I'm 80% on the I'm gonna buy some Leagues of Votan, make myself a force.
All right, yeah, you. I saw on Instagram or Facebook you were trying to talk yourself out of buying them.
Yeah, and then I started talking to my buddy Alistair, who's all in for it, and he's kind of made me think he and I should make dueling clans, rival with a grudge match clan.
That'd be fun.
I'll paint up some dead corpses of his guys on my bases and stuff, fun stuff like that.
So what has been the story reason for why dwarves weren't in the game?
So they never fully went away. They got essentially the idea. The original story was that they were part of the Imperium of Man because they're an abhuman. They're not Xenos. They evolved from humanity from high grav worlds where the stocky, strong stature just sort of evolved. Anyway, supposedly the places where they were got invaded by the Tyranids. Okay. And so they were mostly wiped out from the Tyranids. And there's always been a random squat model in like Necromunda or in various fiction, the Black Library written works. Yeah. You always have a random squat in there.
The Necromunda is the team battle game, right?
Yeah, you make yourself like a gang or a force of a small group of dudes, and you're fighting in the inner cities. It's kind of each character or each model in your gang is a character that levels up and is an individual, as opposed to Warhammer 40K where they're just guys in an army.
Yeah, and it's more cyberpunky.
Yeah, but it's set in Warhammer 40K. Right. It's just done in one of the worlds. So that's what I got for this one. What's next?
Next is I saw a new movie 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, collectively known as The Daniels. It's it's really hard to explain. It's a sci-fi comedy adventure.
We talked about this when it was on the horizon.
Yeah, we watched the trailer and discussed it. It's incredible. It is just a really, really beautiful, good movie. I spent the whole third act of the film sort of passive crying, where you have like misty eyes through the whole thing. It's very, it's like a weird cross between Rick and Morty and The Matrix in some ways.
Oh, nice.
In the way it handles the multiverse, and in The Matrix, the way it uses the multiverse to kind of give a roadmap to finding meaning in a meaningless world, or finding meaning in your life in a meaningless universe or multiverse. Really good movie. Big recommend.
Okay. Yeah, I said I wanted to see this when I watched the trailer. Is it only in theaters?
Right now, but everything gets to streaming pretty fast these days.
Okay, so because I'm a no theater unless I have to. So I only have one more thing on my roll for initiative, but I think it's cool.
All right.
Blade Runner. We all love it. And they finally have licensed the IP to an RPG company, Free League Publishing. Free League Publishing is launching a Kickstarter to get this thing going, and then they'll just like all Kickstarters, especially ones with established IPs, this is really sort of a pre-sale mechanism and a hype generator. So it's launching on May 3rd. But it's going to be a cool cyberpunk RPG set in the setting created by Philip K. Dick. It's the original. It's based off the original novel, but also all the movie stuff is in it and everything. So I'm stoked for it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to back it. Although I am a little bit, if I'm real with myself, I own 3 different cyberpunk role-playing game systems on my shelf, and I've played none of them because it's always D&D or something else. It's never cyberpunk. One of these days, got to play some cyberpunk. But I'm stoked about this. I will say I'm tired of Kickstarter being used as a pre-order mechanism, and then I have to wait 6 months to get it. And in the global supply chain, because they're invariably having it printed in China, it may be even longer than that.
Yeah. I mean, when you get things is very unpredictable. I pre-ordered a record the other day. Do you know the band Oxygen Destroyer from Seattle?
No.
Okay. Pretty cool Black and Death thrash band. But anyways, I ordered their record, and it showed up way before it said it was going to get to me. And then I got an email like days later saying it has shipped, or that it just shipped. And I'm like, am I going to get another one? What's going on?
Yeah, everything's all weird. I swear, I got a Kickstarter book, a book that I backed on Kickstarter. Like at the beginning of the pandemic. I got it last month, and I was like, seriously? It's cool, but it just took forever.
Long.
I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I would pay, instead of $40, which is pretty standard for a hardback tabletop book on Kickstarter. Usually they're going to retail for $50,
right? And
you get it usually for $40 on Kickstarter. I would pay $60 on Kickstarter if they printed it in the USA.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth it to me to have, first of all, the reliability.
Yeah.
I think that stimulating the economy here is good. And there's a certain amount of, let's just skip this supply chain nonsense.
Yeah, but there's some unavoidable supply chain nonsense. And one of the big things is how much of the manufacturing has shut down in America.
Oh, sure.
So in some cases, there is not modern printing presses available here, or the paper and all of the stuff that you need to print the book is already in China. So it's like
But you can't tell me they can't get presses here. It's the same thing with like pressing vinyl. You can't tell me that you can't get them.
Yeah, but it takes this upfront cost to build new or to retrofit old ones.
We should make a vinyl printing place. You and I just go in on it. Let's take a loan. We'll start a Kickstarter.
The equipment is out there, like this vintage equipment. We need a third person that's a gearhead that can understand.
That can do it all?
Yeah, well, it just knows how to fix things.
Oh, we know Diver Chris. He can fix anything.
Yeah, probably. It's not his area of expertise, but he likes a challenge. Dude.
If it's a computer or a car or whatever, he can fix it. He could fix a record maker, whatever it's called.
a record press. Yeah.
It's not much different than a waffle iron.
You're really not wrong. It is pretty close to a waffle iron.
All right. So do you got any more?
I got one more, just a little one. It got announced the other day that Kinshi Yonezu, who wrote the theme song to My Hero Academia Season 2, is doing the theme song for the upcoming Shin Ultraman, which it has a release date now. It's coming out on May 13th. In Japan. No international release date yet, and I Googled like a fiend trying to find an international release date, and just sort of like Shin Evangelion, we'll We'll get it when we get it.
We're not the intended market anyway.
No, Ano Sensei has said as much. He's like, I make movies for Japan. If other people like them, that's great. So
yeah,
he's an eccentric weirdo, and that's why I love his movies. So I will be probably pirating this before it gets an official release date.
It could be said that we ourselves are eccentric weirdos.
I think so.
All right, so let's. What do we got for podcast fuel?
Today's podcast fuel is Multiclass Maibach. It is part of the Collabuary series of beers from 2022, and it's a collaboration between Brothers Cascadia and Lewitt, both of which are located, here in beautiful Vancouver, Washington.
We are not currently in Vancouver, Washington.
Nah. I mean, we also say we're in Portland.
That's true. Yeah,
so we're
in the metro for sure.
Yeah, we're fuzzy with the geography, but and it is a Maibach. It is 6.4 ABV. It seemed on theme with the episode, as it's a fantasy themed beer, and I know Dave's a sucker for Maibachs and for D&D, so this just fit the bill.
Tom, one of the founders of Lewitt, we used to play D&D together, so I know he definitely is a D&D player, and I don't know the other founder, but I guess he also plays D&D with Tom. So anyway, yeah, I know these guys are nerds. This is good. I love Maibachs. This is a good Maibach. It's not bitter. Sometimes they get a little overboard on that. And the art is really cool. It's got this mouse who has kind of a Pictish war paint on. He's casting a spell with one hand and wielding a sword with the other. He's kind of channeling lightning through his sword at this giant owl that's swooping on him.
I think it's a regular size owl.
Yeah, that's true. He is a regular sized mouse, and there's a regular sized owl. So this guy's obviously some sort of fighter mage. My question is, what is your multi-class? If you're a D&D multi-class character, what are your two classes?
Oh, for myself or to play?
No, for yourself.
I think we settled on that you and I are both bards, which is why we do
we're
this.
Bullshit kings.
Yeah. And so then what would be, I think I'm a bard monk.
A bard monk.
Yeah. Those stack really.
The beer variety.
Yeah, those go together good.
No,
yeah.
They go together terribly.
I know.
It's horrible.
I know. That's why I tried to stack monk with sorcerer, and that didn't work for me either.
Monk stacks only with another wisdom class, which is like cleric or druid, and even then still poorly. Monk is kind of a solo thing. So I think I'm probably a bard warlock.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a little evil. I like arcane nonsense.
I just think you're a College of Blades bard straight up. I think you're just a single class, and that's
just
the one.
A bullshitter who likes to fight with weapons.
Yeah.
That's pretty much true.
And the can has all sorts of good information because Michael Lindberg is our artist that gave us our little multi-class mouse. And uses pearl hops, which that's usually what you'd put in like a Pilsner, I believe. So that's why it's so not bitter.
I was driving through Yakima yesterday, the Yakima Valley, I should say, and they were doing up all the strands for all the hops and everything. They were getting it all ready. Tons of them, just acre upon acre as far as you can see.
That's where Yakima provides... probably the majority of hops for the U.S. They're monstrous.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back with the deep dive.
All right, divers, welcome back. Let's dive into the Neverending Story, 1984, Wolfgang Petersen.
I just want to say the intro theme song to this movie is a banger to this day.
Lisa's been singing it around the house like all week, and I was like, stop it. Stop singing the Neverending Story theme. But it does just stick in your head.
Yeah. So who's the artist? Limal?
Limal, yeah. Lead singer from the band Kajagoogoo.
Okay, interesting. Because I watched the video for this song, and
quite a mullet on that guy. It's
I was
beautiful.
just thinking, man, that mullet is rocking.
Yeah, frosted mullet, spiked up with like very product-y bangs.
Yeah, so. The guy had a really intentional look. So I really love the song. I think it's great. And one thing that really kind of sort of the meta opening, the movie opens basically on, there's a boy and his dad in the kitchen. It kind of reminds me of how The Princess Bride opens with the boy and his grandpa and whatnot. And all
Similar framing device.
Yeah.
I think, we talked about Labyrinth. I think The Princess Bride probably remains the pinnacle of the modern fairy tale.
You think so?
Yeah, I do kind of.
Why haven't we ever done that movie?
I don't know. Because I'm always reluctant to do these children's movies with you because you savage them and harm people's memories.
I just destroy them. That's true.
And so it's like, ooh, let's take a beloved classic and have Dave take a dump on it.
That sounds perfect. I'm down. So
let's rebrand the podcast.
Nick and Dave, take a dump on your favorite things.
That's
or
got
a
legs.
Dump on your childhood.
Yeah, take a dump on your childhood. Okay, so yes, so we're at the Books household. Bastian and his dad, and
it's a little on the nose. The last name
is Bux.
Yeah, whatever. And Bastian, it's interesting. These guys are ostensibly Americans. Very clearly not an American kid's name.
Yeah, Bastian Balthazar Books. I don't think that's culturally anywhere.
No, that's a fairy tale name.
Yeah. Triple alliterative.
And dad is like a lame yuppie guy. He's a widower. He's looks like he works in finance or something.
It goes deeper in the book. So he is actually a dental technician.
What? And he's wearing a full-on suit? He's not wearing scrubs?
Yeah.
Dental techs they don't wear suits.
They do not wear suits. They actually just wear street clothes in general. But, this is the 80s. It's still a mostly unionized job. And I think, he looks like he's a supervisor of dental technicians.
Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, but he's characterized much differently in the book than he is here. Because here he's very much wanting Bastian to move on, and in the book he's much more depressed also.
Oh, okay.
And that's a big part of it because he's just completely absent.
You got to keep your feet on the ground.
Yeah, he's not coping well.
No,
and he's not parenting well.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think it is kind of interesting, and it kind of they kind of talk about, they have this interaction where dad talks about how the math teacher called him and how he's doing poorly and how he was drawing horses, and he's quick to say they're unicorns. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
And basically he's this outcast bibliophile of a child. He's not a realistic person.
Bastian? You don't think so?
No. I was an outcast bibliophile, and I wasn't like this kid at all.
I don't know, man. Like, something about Bastian rings very true to me.
Is it just because he wore glasses?
He doesn't wear glasses.
No, you're right. No, what is it about him that rings true?
I don't know. I was a lot like this kid.
He rings very fake to me.
Oh, no. I was a lot like this.
No fight in him at all. He's just complete weak sauce.
Yeah, I don't want to hang my hat on that one, but I've never been thrown in a dumpster, and then when I got out, been told to go back into the dumpster.
I have done some garbage can throwing in my day.
Yeah.
Never been the one in it though.
At that age, I definitely lost a lot of fights, but I like to feel I was a participant.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 exchange, or 60-40 exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, Bastian's math teacher is a snitch and talks a bunch of shit to his dad. And then he's like, "Yeah, I'll make it to school on time today."
Yeah. No.
Spoiler alert: he will not.
You know what? I don't want to brush over this because it seems like real psychopath behavior. Bastian's dad puts a raw egg into a blender full of orange juice and then chugs that while
But that was 80s. That was huge. Like raw eggs that was the thing.
Yeah, I know. It's in Rocky too. He drinks raw eggs.
You want to get like E. coli.
But there's something about chugging a raw egg while you're telling your son who's mourning the loss of his mother, your wife, to get his shit together and go to school. It just makes you seem like a sociopath.
I think if I was his dad, I probably would be like, it would be more like, I don't know, we're getting in a car and we're going somewhere doing some crazy shit. I think I'd be unhinged. I wouldn't be like, you got to keep your feet on the ground, Sonny.
Yeah, I know your mom is dead and we're all sad about it, but come on, school's important.
Yeah, I'd be like, we're driving to Florida. We're going to find a fucking mouse.
Yeah. So Bastian, he's a city kid. He gets to roam to school. And
this is also very 80s because, supervision wasn't really a thing. Because dad's leaving. He's like, yeah, make sure you take care of everything and get yourself to school and take care of responsibilities, which you're clearly failing at doing. Just do it.
Bastian is the poster child for the Gen X generation. That's how we were raised.
The dude himself.
He's making his own lunch there while his dad tells him to suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
And then he goes off to work and is not going to see him again till that night.
His dad is a boomer, and his dad is a boomer who essentially says, fuck your feelings.
Right.
And Bastian is Gen X, who essentially says, okay.
I'll internalize this into self-hatred and apathy.
Yeah. This is the boomers and Gen Xers in a nutshell.
It is. You know, the weird thing, because Bastian gets bullied as he's walking to school. And the very weird thing to me about this is I was always, as a country kid, very envious of this lifestyle.
Of being able to walk to school.
Being able to walk through the city, which was remains one of my favorite things, even when the city is terrible.
Yeah, city's not worth walking through right now.
It's not worth walking through then for him in pre-gentrified Gastown, Vancouver, which, he gets chased into a place that's called Blood Alley to this day. And so it's
did you notice the cameo there on the first scene where they're walking through the?
No, I didn't.
Emilio Estevez is a cameo walking down the street. Yeah,
just happened to be in Vancouver or what?
Yeah, I don't know, but he's walking and he turns and looks over his shoulder at the kids, and then he turns and keeps on walking. But yeah, he's definitely in it. I thought that to myself. I was like, is Emilio Estevez in this movie? I don't remember that. And then I Googled it, and yeah,
this would be right around Repo Man, either just before or just after.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool.
Wild. Okay.
So the bullies chase Bastian. They throw him in a dumpster. And then when he gets out and comes out, they're still on the street. And they're like, did we tell you can get out?
Yeah, poor Bastian.
And so he runs again and gets chased again. This time he dips into a bookstore.
Yeah, good old Carl Conrad Coriander.
Yeah, another fake ass name.
Another triple alliterative name. And he gets he gatekeeps Bastian, which is something I love. He's basically like, I don't like kids. Get the hell out of here.
You call it gatekeeping. I think he was reverse psychologying him the whole time.
Well, I mean, definitely. If we want to get into the mythology of the world and everything, he is another person who has been to Fantasia.
Yeah, he's another guy who is, he's chased the dragon, so to speak.
Yeah, or he's ridden the dragon. Yeah. Played by Thomas Hill. And the reason I say gatekeeping is because this is so comic book store, where he comes in there and he's like, yeah, this is for people who read books. It's not a video game, kid. And he's like, Bastian starts listing all the books that he's read. And he's like, okay, you've passed my test, Bastian.
Yeah.
He's like, come over here, little nerd. And then he's like, oh, you're not ready for this book. This is the hard stuff.
It's like, I am. And then, of course, he's like, oh, I'll go to the other room. And then
let me leave this tantalizing book here while I go answer the phone and then let you steal it.
Yeah, and of course, he steals the book.
He's a good kid, though. He left a little note.
Yeah, I did think the bookseller was a bit of a prick, but I get it. Well, most kids come in, like, most kids don't have money. There's a lot of theft that goes on.
Yeah.
I get it.
And it's something we should say, 'cause I'll talk about the book a lot while we do this. This movie adapts, they say half, but it's more like 40% of the book. And I'd say this character, Carl Coriander, is almost something like a mentor to Bastian by the end, and we never get that because the movie cuts off way before the book ends.
And then we get a sequel.
Ooh, have you ever watched that sequel?
Yeah, it's not good.
That's a tough sit.
Isn't there like a third one too?
Upside, that one has Jack Black in it. Downside, it is worse than the first two.
Yeah, no thank you. So yeah, basically, he steals this not safe book and runs off to school. And, there's some really good kind of music in the interlude parts, and it's all very 80s. I really enjoy it.
I love this score from Klaus Doldinger. And then Giorgio Moroder added some for the American version. There's a little more guitar and a little more modern music in there. But Klaus Doldinger's just synth based score, it kept making me think of Mortiz the Stargate.
Oh yeah,
it's that early dungeon synth sound. Yeah,
I like those early Mortiz albums.
I think this and the Conan score are probably like his foundational documents. He's like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna dress up like a goblin and make this music.
No, he's gonna dress up like a night hob.
Fair point. Yeah. So Bastian gets to school. We'll brush through this part fast because I honestly forgot it existed.
Yeah.
Like when I watched this movie as a kid, I'm 90% sure
with the scene
where the rock biter rolls
with
up.
The rock biter rolls up on the night hob and the racing snail and all that shit. Yeah.
I think I fast forwarded through the beginning of this movie every time I watched it.
Yeah, I know I fast forwarded to Fantasia.
I was living Bastian's life. I want a dad that doesn't understand me and a bullied kid. That's my real life. I want to go to Fantasia.
Yeah, I was like, hold on. I am a kid who is bullied by his dad. I don't need this.
I don't need this part. Yeah.
It fully, I skipped towards it. So yeah, he peeks in. He's like, oh no, math test.
Yeah. School's already in session by the time he gets there.
And his teacher, she looks like a real bitch. Just looking at her, she's like Joe Biden's generation, and she's horrible.
There's certain generation of teachers, and a lot of them are still working, who feel like it's their duty to sort of crush the joy out of children, it seems like.
I find that there are two mentalities for people who teach. I would call it secondary, so middle and high school, and he's a middle schooler at this point.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like 10 years old.
Oh, well, that would be upper elementary, but this building and this class structure is clearly a middle school structure.
Yeah.
But anyway, the two mentalities that I find are they're the ones who play dominance games, and they're the ones who don't care. This is a dominance game teacher.
Oh, okay.
Because she is imperiously walking around and just, she's a real...
that feels very insecure to be concerned with dominating children.
Well, I think that a lot of them do it because they think it's good for the kid. If you don't learn discipline now, how can you ever do blah, blah, blah? But the reality is that you don't actually learn discipline when you're a kid. It's not really very, you have to grow into it.
Yeah. Interesting.
But anyway, so yeah, this lady sucks. And he's like, oh no, I'm going to go and sneak into the attic.
Yeah.
What school has an attic like this? A skeleton, like an alchemy setup.
It's pretty
taxidermied
amazing.
Animals.
It was clearly a Hogwarts in its previous incarnation, and it has been turned into a regular institution.
This definitely looks like kind of a Hogwarts storage closet.
Yeah, there's like a whole like samurai armor suit up there. It's like there used to be much more interesting stuff going on at this school compared to now.
Yeah, they took all of the cool historical artifacts out of the classrooms because, kids don't need to see those.
Yeah. No, it does sort of like, it gives Bastian the sense of being sort of out of his time, right? Like he doesn't belong in that world downstairs. His world is up here in the attic. And I love that he knows where the key to the attic is. This is his normal hiding spot. Yeah. And I like that. And he pulls over the gym mat and rolls himself up in an army blanket and gets ready to read this book.
And then it opens in Fantasia. Mm-hmm. So
end of prologue.
Yeah, pretty much. And so basically it's the snail, the bat, the mad hatter-looking dude who I never really knew, but his name's Engiwook?
Yeah. No, Engiwook is the gnome. This is this guy played by Deep Roy is a teeny weeny.
The Night Hob, right?
No, the Night Hob is, I think, just called the Night Hob.
So the guy is Teeny Weeny?
Teeny Weeny is Deep Roy in the top hat riding the snail.
Okay, interesting. I did not know his name ever, and I've seen this movie a lot. They never name him in the movie.
No, they call him Teeny Weeny in the book quite a bit.
Okay. And he's a dude who rides the racing snail.
Yeah. I love that snail.
I like the snail too.
I love the bat too.
Yeah, the bat is dope. He's always falling asleep because it's too light out for him.
Yeah. So this whole thing, this is the scene that just captures you when you're a little kid. This world seems so inviting and wonderful.
And this giant rolling thing is rolling towards them. They're like, ah. Yeah. And then it stops, and it's literally the scooter of a stone giant who's a rock biter.
Yeah. I love the rock biter. And this is the first voice performance in the movie from the great Alan Oppenheimer.
Oh, nice.
Skeletor himself does 3 or 4 voices in this movie.
Nice.
And kills all of them.
So what was your favorite out of this initial scene? What was your favorite character? Because as a kid, you always want to be one of these guys, right?
I mean, the one that I always just said the lines is the rock biter. He has all the best lines.
I figured you would want to be
I love that bat
the rock
too.
Biter. I was the Night Hob.
Yeah.
As a kid, that was my shit.
Yeah, he's so good. And it really doesn't matter. The actor Thilo Bruckner, a German actor, doesn't speak any English. It's all dubbed.
Nice.
But he's just sort of this great little goblin guy that rides a bat.
Yeah.
And everyone is very well characterized. The teeny weeny, he's a Victorian gentleman.
He's a dapper little gnomish dude or whatever who has a fancy ass snail that he rides.
Yeah, and the rock biter rolls up on a bicycle made of rock and eats rock. And he doesn't really look down on small folk. He likes them, but he is a little unaware of how dangerous he is to them.
Yeah. He could just casually kill them.
Yeah. And so this is a great scene. And I just remember being captured in the theater watching this. I tried really hard to put myself in my 6-year-old mindset while watching this and just remember all of the things that I felt at that age when I watched it the first time, because it really is it's a children's movie, and you benefit from having a children's mentality when you watch it.
I always used to try to convince my sister to eat rocks because they were so tasty.
He makes them look good, and he gives tasting notes. He's like that's limestone with a bit of quartz.
Yeah, which are very much those are limestone comes with quartz very commonly in Texas.
Oh.
It's a very Texas combination of stones there. So I like that.
Oh, yeah. That's that Texas mineral water. I can't think of the brand, but yeah, limestone is a big part of that.
Yeah, it's big.
So anyways, our three guys, they are emissaries from their individual native lands, and they are all questing to go to the ivory tower to kind of beseech the childlike empress, because there's this thing called the nothing.
The nothing.
Yeah.
Which, to me, the nothing as a kid was scarier than, like an actual villain with a face. To me, this is scary.
It is scarier, like, because the rockbiter gives this monologue, and it's almost straight from the book. He's not the character that says it in the book, but the dialogue comes from the book about how near his village there was a lake, and then one day it was gone.
There's
and they're
no
like,
lake.
It dried up, and it's like, no, it was gone. Just like, it was just a hole. It's like, no, a hole would be something. There's just nothing where the lake used to be.
No lake, then no rocks.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're on the same mission. He goes, what are we waiting for? I always loved that as a kid. It's like, it's so like juvenile.
It is. It's very child logic. And it's something that as an adult, you're like, well, they're probably waiting for light, I'm assuming.
I was singing as a kid, like, because I did not see this when it first came out. I had it on VHS like a few years after.
Yeah.
And I had already started tinkering around with D&D. I was like,
oh, wow.
This is a D&D party.
Yeah.
There are 3 characters and they each have their own mount. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I always just thought of it as this is just a small adventuring group.
I mean, so what are this? The Rockbiter is a stone giant. You already said that.
And
he's the obvious one. And
some kind of goblin and some kind of gnome. I mean, that's sort of what I was thinking as a kid. And they just were adventurers who were running to get help because the nothing was going to kill their land.
Yeah.
I like how fast the racing snail is, but the bat is cooler because flying, you know.
But it's all great. This is all great.
And the
children's
music,
stuff.
The synth, it's all so good.
It's all great. They get to the ivory tower. At least the night hob gets there because he's flying.
Yeah, it's such an impressive looking thing when he flies up and you get your first view of the ivory tower. I was just like, wow, that thing looks cool. Even so long after this movie was new.
Yeah, and I was not to give a spoiler to my what worked for you, but shout out production designer Rolf Zehetbauer, and Brian Johnson, director of special effects, and Giuseppe Tortora, chief animatronics engineer, because all that stuff is in play here, and conceptual artist Uldorico, who designed what ends up being matte paintings and stuff. These guys kill it, all of them.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. And so they fly up on there, and like then you get kind of the perspective of the night hob, who's peering in with his grubby ass hands in through one of the holes, and then you have the bat as well, and they're looking down on this gathering of total weirdos. And I just loved how varied these were, like these big huge heads, and then like people with multiple faces on their heads, and all these weird cool special effects.
And a lot of that stuff is stuff from the books. The multi-face thing it's a kind of troll that's detailed in the book. The book is much more dense, and they do, I think, something that they do really well in the adaptation is getting as much of the stuff into it as they can, even if they don't talk about it and say, oh, you're a 4-faced troll. There is one there. If you read the book, you recognize the thing. And there's a bunch of pop culture icons in there too. E.T., Gumby, Mickey Mouse, Chewbacca, C-3PO, Yoda, and 2 Ewoks.
Wow, I did not notice Yoda in there.
Yep, Yoda's there because Fantasia is like the repository of human imagination. So it's all there. Anything that people dream up is in Fantasia.
Yeah, that's really cool. And if you're wondering, divers, is there a Neverending Story role-playing game because I want to adventure as a night hob.
Yeah.
There is not a imprint there is not an imprint RPG for it, but there are literally dozens of indie versions and online creations. There's even ones for existing systems, like you could play Dungeons and Dragons in Fantasia with all that information. So yeah, you can make it happen.
It seems unnecessary to me because Fantasia is more like, it's like the system itself, and then all the various countries of Fantasia are whatever fantasy things already exist.
But if you wanted specifically to have a racing snail, you could homebrew that, or someone has already homebrewed
it. Yeah.
Like if you want to include rock biters, you could just use stone giants. But yeah. Anyway, it's all out there. So this gathering of people, they're being addressed by their kind of it looks like the spokesman for the Empress, and he's this dude. He's this kind of regal looking guy with this almost like fin ridge on top of his head.
Yeah, the character's called Chiron. In the book, he's a centaur. I
think I would have appreciated this dude if he had a horse body more.
That's a really tough effect. Putting a ridge on the guy's bald head.
They did a luck dragon. They can do a centaur.
They barely did the dragon. If we be real. It's like when he's on the ground, that middle section doesn't move at all. Just the tail and the head.
It's like a big couch.
Yeah. So a centaur, I think there's certain concessions that were made to like, what can we do in 1982? And it's not a horse body on this guy.
Yeah, and he tells everybody, sorry, time to go home. The Empress has COVID.
Right? The childlike Empress has a mysterious illness.
Yes.
And they summon a...
it was made at a night hob laboratory.
I don't think the night hob eats bats.
That's true.
But there is.
I don't know. They're bat adjacent.
They are bat adjacent. That's where these viruses are born, where people's
exactly.
DNA and animal DNA are mixing.
Night hobs made the Empress's illness.
Yeah, let's get that truth out there. But anyway, so
Neverending Story truthers.
I think that night hobs are unfairly disparaged already. It's a form of racism.
Oh, there's some racism about to happen in this movie.
You read the book. It's of its time.
That's true.
We'll say it's of its time.
So they're waiting. They've summoned a great warrior who's going to go on a quest, and he's from the plains people that hunt the purple buffalo,
right?
And they have among them a great warrior named Atreyu, and so they've summoned him. He shows up, and I remembered Atreyu being older. Like, I thought when I was a kid, like Atreyu is like he's an older kid, like maybe he's like 13 or 14 or something.
That's because we were 6 when this movie came out.
Exactly. But now I'm looking at it, I was like, is Atreyu 9?
Yes. Yes, he is. We were 6 and he is 10. So he was an older kid.
Yeah. And so I think it was just like, I remember him being like looking strong. Like when I was a kid, I was like, Atreyu looks strong.
Yeah.
But when I look at him now, I was like, yeah, no wonder you got knocked over by a turtle sneeze.
Yeah, so Noah Hathaway from Battlestar Galactica.
And he's like 50 now, and he's a tattoo artist. Mm-hmm. I want to get the RN tattooed on me from Noah Hathaway.
That's his specialty.
I read an interview online. He said he did 15 in one day, and he's happy to do it.
Yeah, he probably does it because he does conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
I bet he just tattoos Orans all day long.
I would get an Oran like right in the center of my chest.
If you have the Oran on you, you have safe passage all through Fantasia. Yeah. That means you speak with the childlike Empress's voice, like you're her official emissary.
Fuck yes, get me the Oran tattoo.
Yeah, so Atreyu comes up. Allegedly, Noah Hathaway is half Native American. That's what I read.
I looked online and I could find nothing saying no.
That's what Wolfgang Petersen said, is that he was half Native American.
Okay.
He's olive tone. I mean, it's plausible.
He looks like it, but you can't go off looks. That's not how you do it. There's no paper bag test here.
Mm-hmm. Well, for the sake of wanting to look favorably on this childhood classic, we'll say this is not appropriation, it's representation, hopefully.
We'll say that their intention was representation by choosing a Native American actor.
Yeah. In the book, they have green skin and blue hair.
That would have been dope.
Yeah, but
why didn't they do it?
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, that would...
Green skin's not that hard.
No. I mean, if you watch the old Incredible Hulk show, that green paint's rubbing off all the time.
That's true.
And they do a lot of stuff where he's in the water and everything. It would be highly impractical to paint him up. And this, I mean, well, I'm sure we'll get into it as we go through this. This kid suffered for this movie.
Yeah, he did. He did all of his own stunts at the director's insistence.
He in the pre-training before, because he didn't know how to ride a horse. He did an intensive horseback riding training session. Broke his back. Was in traction for a period of time. He injured,
and they didn't recast him.
No, man, he wanted it bad.
Why didn't they just cast like a little cowboy kid?
Because he has the look.
Okay.
He went through a long...
He is a handsome feller.
Yeah, he's the leading man of little kids. You know, like it's a very particular thing. But yeah, so he broke his back horseback riding. He re-injured himself in the scene with Morla, the Ancient One. And he nearly lost his eye in the scene with Gamork at the end of the movie.
It'd have been worth it.
Would it? Would it have been worth it?
For me.
I mean, I love this movie, so probably it would have been worth it to me too. He's like, and poor Noah Hathaway died during the making of.
He died, but we love the movie in his honor.
Hey, that's why we love Brandon Lee. He died for our entertainment too.
He died for a 5-star movie.
In your opinion.
You're a monster. Brandon Lee's sacrifice was for 4 stars.
When you put it like that, it does make me sound pretty bad. Anyway, Chiron the Not Centaur is he is incredulous when
he's like, a boy?
Yeah, he's like, we want to Atreyu the man. Yeah, it's, you know, I think it's an understandable reaction when he finds out. This is when you feel like your management's making bad decisions.
Yeah.
The childlike empress told him Atreyu is going to do it. And he's like, all right, yeah, Atreyu. He's probably a mighty warrior. And then he's a kid. And he's like, oh.
It's like, child empress picks a child warrior? Stupid. And so Atreyu's like, all right, I'll just go back to hunting the purple buffalo. And they're like, wait, we'll at least send you out to your death because we said we would.
Yeah. We have no plan B.
Yeah.
So it's you. Give me your bow because you have to go unarmed.
Yeah, you're not allowed to take the weapons or any other gear. All you can have is this amulet.
And that's another thing it's detailed more in the book. When you carry the Orin, because the childlike empress is the empress of all of Fantasia, and she can't have favorites between good and evil. Everything is equal to her. If you're bearing the Orin, you can't have any weapons because you have to be this sort of...
I'm going to have you guys in the D&D game that I'm running visit Fantasia.
I'm pretty familiar with it. Yeah, but if you have the Orin, you can't be partisan, right? Like you have to be neutral. Should we talk about what the Orin is? We've said it a bunch.
It's like it's an amulet of interlocking snakes.
Yeah,
everyone's seen it.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, you've seen it. It's
otherwise go Google it. Auryn.
It does help to spell it because it's not. it's not intuitive.
It'd be like Orin. No,
yeah.
Auryn.
The Michael Ende being German, there's a lot of allusions to Norse mythology. Because I think not like straight ports, but like things that are evocative of it. Because I think the Orin is very Jormungandr.
I myself have some windy ass serpent tattoos on me. I think I was counting them the other day. I have 7.
Oh, yeah. So would you say it has to be one of your first exposures to that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
That imagery.
Definitely. And now I have it tattooed on me a lot.
Yeah. This is a very foundational document for us, our generation, I think.
Oh, yeah. We definitely saw ourselves in this movie. And I don't know. I didn't care one lick about horses until Artax.
Oof. Yeah, let's not jump ahead because that's a big one.
Well, I mean, he rides off on Artax after he leaves the ivory tower.
Artax is a good horse.
They give him he's the Shadowfax of this movie. Like he's basically like Gandalf's horse. He's the Uber horse.
Yeah, and in the book he talks.
Oh man, they couldn't do that.
But
talking horse would be dope party member.
I do like when Atreyu's given the Orin, we get a little cut back to Bastian, who he looks at the book and the Orin is on the cover, and it's not just like printed on the cover. There's literally a medallion
it's
pressed
like a
into
metal serpent medallion like riveted on.
And that's really, I think, thematically this is important because we don't really know this, but Bastian is the protagonist of the story.
Yeah.
And he has been put on the mission as well. He is also bearing the Orin.
He's ostensibly the protagonist. I think Atreyu is the protagonist for most of the movie.
Atreyu is like the protagonist of the film.
And I want to go ahead and throw this out there. The first 2 Atreyu albums are good. You can stop after that.
Yeah, I put on The Curse the other day because Atreyu came out with a new album.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and I won't make this tangent very long. I listened to it, I guess this was probably last summer, and I thought, why did I ever like this band so much?
The Curse is a good album.
Yeah, and then I put on The Curse, and I was like, oh, this was the shit. Yeah, okay, this is why I liked it so much. If you've never
listened to the Orange County metalcore band Atreyu, they put out a kind of a vampire-themed album called The Curse, and it's very fucking good.
Yeah. And
it's very sing-along. It's a sing-along album.
Saw them 2 or 3 times in that time period.
Several times.
Yeah.
Very good. Dan Jacobs is a Kiesel artist, the brand that I play mostly.
Oh.
So, he has some signature Explorer type guitars.
The old vocalist quit the band. I don't know
now
why.
The drummer, the
drummer
singer,
is the only. Yeah. He was always the backup singer. Now he's the only singer.
Yeah, he was the better vocalist anyway.
That's true, but it's just I hate bands that are fronted from the back. It just doesn't.
They really should hire a touring drummer so he can be the front man, and then he can record the drums in the studio.
Atreyu, you can call us. We have ideas about your career.
We will help you.
Or just bring back your vocalist. Make him come back from Thailand or wherever he ran off to.
Tell him to say sorry. Or honestly, let's just be real. There are a dozen dudes, decent looking Californian dudes that can growl like that.
Yeah, hire one of the other guys from a defunct Orange County metalcore band.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, what's the 18 Visions guy doing? Get him and you're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Avenged Sevenfold, they stayed busy, but the other guys are all available. The guy from Throwdown, I don't think he's doing nothing.
Throwdown's pretty good.
Yeah, we did our time in Orange County hardcore. Back to Fantasia.
Well, they named their band after this guy, so we had to mention them.
Ostensibly, that's what makes this a meta trifecta.
That's true, and we talked about it. So this episode, meta trifecta approved.
We get a whole Atreyu on Artax montage while he rides around
This
Fantasia.
reminds me of the Last Unicorn when they are gallivanting to some music all across the land.
Yeah, it's very of the time. This is a way to, instead of making 3 movies out of it like Peter Jackson would, we say Atreyu journeyed.
Yes, I like that. It's better. You get straight to it. And I just want to say the music is great and Artax is great.
Artax is a good horse. Something else that happens here is as soon as Atreyu starts out on his quest, a counter quest begins. We see a black wolf take off across the moors chasing after Atreyu.
And I love that the author and the Black Wolf's name is Gamork, and the author referred to him in an interview as a wolf vampire.
Interesting. In the book, he's called Gamork the werewolf. And
Interesting.
Gamork is... I'll save it to the end.
Gamork is one of my favorite parts of this whole movie.
Either my router was called Gamork the Servant of the Nothing, or my phone was called Gamork the Servant of the Nothing. I think it was my phone, so that when I would get into my car and the Bluetooth would connect to the stereo or whatever, it would come up on the screen and it would say Gamork the Servant of the Nothing.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Gamork.
So it's a peculiar thing. I was terrified of Gamork. And it's a weird thing in my family. Kind of all of the children have been afraid of wolves. Huh. I don't know where it comes from, but anyone in my family, when we were little kids, the big bad wolf is a very scary thing. And Gamork is like the ultimate big bad wolf.
I was a lover of Gamork as a kid. I would prowl around.
I love him too, though. Like it's that thing. Like it's a very primal trigger, and it's exciting and it's like Gollum. It's the exact same thing. I was scared to death of Gollum. I was scared to death of Gamork, but I also love Gamork.
So basically, Atreyu's riding. Gamork sets out, and Atreyu's quest directs him to go and seek out Morla, the Ancient One, in the Swamps of Sadness.
Yeah, she lives in Shell Mountain.
And the Swamps of Sadness are just so grim. It's so gross. It's like it's just dark and muck everywhere.
This shit is horrible, right? Like they're trudging through the muck. This was an arduous shoot. Like
I can imagine
this poor 10-year-old kid who's out in just like buckskins, actually just buckskins pants and a loose vest, so almost undressed, trudging around in this wet muck stuff, dragging a horse that definitely doesn't want to be there. It took 7 weeks to train the horses just to deal with this shit, because
7 weeks,
because horses want to get away from danger. And so the whole, like, go be up to your neck in slime, horses don't mess with that.
No, the horse looks legit distressed.
Yeah, this is horrible. And the Swamps of Sadness basically feed on your despair or whatever and drag you down. Mm-hmm. And Atreyu's wearing the Orin, so he's protected.
Yeah, he's not sad.
But he's sad, but nothing can harm him, right?
Yeah.
So poor Artax doesn't have the Orin.
And so he's getting sadder and sadder and sadder until finally he just stops walking forward. And as soon as he stops walking forward, he starts sinking into the muck.
Dude.
This was a real tear rolling when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
When Artax sinks into the swamp and Atreyu's trying to pull him out, and he's saying anything he can think of to say and trying to pull him, and he just won't go, and Artax gives up and dies.
Atreyu goes through like all the stages of grief
all at once,
like denial and anger. Like he goes through the whole...
You stupid horse.
Oh, it hurts. I could not believe this was happening when I was 6 years old watching this.
You did not kill the horse.
I was just like, I can remember like looking over at my dad at the movie theater, like, what? like, like, what is happening? And my dad's like, it's like, horses die. I mean, I don't know. Grow up, kid.
Can't keep your feet on the ground.
Right? It was very like that. I don't know, just like, oh my God. Oh, and the wolf is coming. Like, it's like, this is a snuff film. What?
Would it be great? Gamork jumps out of the swamp and just chomps boy Atreyu into, just mangles him there, and then you see the big Morla's like, oh shit. And that's the end of the movie.
She wouldn't care. She's very apathetic. She'd be like, back into the swamp. Yeah. No, so Atreyu, he's struggling. Gamork is on his ass, and then luckily when this is our all hope is lost moment.
Yeah. There's a couple of all hope is lost moments in this movie.
Yeah, it's a little bumpy hero's journey. It doesn't quite sync up with, because there's two parallel heroes' journeys. Anyways, we see serpentining through the sky. We see our luck dragon Falkor. He comes in and grabs Atreyu at the very last second before Gamork gets him.
Yes. And does he grab him before he finds Morla? I can't even remember.
Oh, no. You know what? So, I jumped ahead.
Yeah, so basically Artax dies, and then he trudges ahead, and he goes, Shell Mountain! And he runs over to it, and the Shell Mountain is actually the dome of a gigantic swamp turtle.
Yeah.
Who is Morla the Ancient One.
Yeah.
And she sucks. I did not like Morla as a kid. We don't even care whether we care or not.
Morla represents adult apathy, right? Like the sort of death of childlike wonder and the death of caring. Morla represents Bastian's dad, really, like where she can't be bothered to even care if the world ends.
I feel like that's pretty accurate for a lot of boomers.
And,
because they can't even care that they're destroying the world with their economic policies and environmental apathy.
There's really good social commentary in this story. It's very smart. Like it's well written. Anyways, do you want to respond, or do you want me to keep riffing?
No, I mean, that's fine. I think Morla basically just tells him nothing, really. She's like, I don't know, and I don't care if I know, and I don't care if nothing comes, but you could go to the Southern Oracle, which is 10,000 miles distant. She sneezes, knocks poor Atreyu down, and this is where the kid gets hurt.
Yeah.
And being thrown to the side into this muck a few times. And that's when the luck dragon comes.
Right.
Oh, actually, that's not even when the luck dragon comes, because then we cut back to the real world. The bell rings for Bastian. School's out. And he's like, oh, I should go home. Like, my dad's going to be waiting for me. Or he won't. People are going to care. And he goes, Atreyu wouldn't quit now. And then there's a storm outside, and a wolf head taxidermy falls down towards him, alluding to Gamork.
Right.
And then it goes back into the story, and Gamork is closing in on Atreyu as he is being exhausted, trying to get out of the swamps. But he's just totally done. And that is when Falkor, the luck dog dragon, flies out of the sky and snatches him up. So poor Gamork is denied. He's hungry.
Yeah. Werewolves got to eat too, man. That's it. You always love it.
Gatekeeping werewolf chow.
You always like when the little fawn is getting chased by the wolf in the David Attenborough documentary. You always celebrate when it gets away, but you don't think about that den full of cubs that needed that fawn to feed on.
Yeah. What about Gamork's family?
Gamork's got to eat. Yeah. No. This shit hits hard because you, as a kid, when you're watching it, and like I said, I think you really need to try and keep that mentality. You're really like, the adults have failed you. Your horse is dead.
And then the whole destination of your quest to find Morla the Ancient One, she turned out to be even more of a boomer.
Yeah, man. You thought Chiron was a drag. Morla the Ancient One really sucks.
Yeah.
And so Atreyu, and you in the audience, you really need this hope that Falkor brings in.
Yeah, and so Falkor like whisks him away, and Atreyu wakes up, and he finds himself clean, bandaged, and he's like sleeping against this big white furry-ish dragon.
I love Falkor so much.
And he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get up and sneak away. And Falkor opens one eye and he's like, leaving so soon?
Again, the great Alan Oppenheimer comes in. You know, I know you're also a fan of voice actors.
I am.
And I'll say what Rob Paulson always says, voice actors are actors.
Oh, yeah.
And Alan Oppenheimer does 4 voices in this thing. Voice actors arguably do more work in some ways than screen actors, they call them.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to do these fully realized character voices. And there's this little, back and forth between Atreyu and Falkor, and he's like, "Are you going to eat me?" He's no, "I like children." And Falkor's a little, he's kind of a little cheesily, happy-go-lucky good guy.
He's a dudist.
Yeah, he abides. The Falkor abides.
Falkor abides, yeah, for sure.
And
I had an episode title already, but that's better.
Falkor abides. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And so he's a practical effect, obviously. He's a puppet. And mostly there's people controlling his head and his eyes. But the body doesn't really move much at all.
Not at all, yeah.
It's pretty
The paws don't move. The whole middle section is just stationary.
That puppet is currently in a museum in Germany.
I know. I found that out too.
I kind of want to go see it.
I will ride it. I'll tell you now.
Can you sit on it?
Yep. As part of the tour, man.
Dude, we should do this as a thing for the podcast. I realize taking a trip to Germany for the podcast is a bit aggressive.
I think it's taking a trip to Germany for our own edification and enrichment, and we can do podcast material while we're there.
I don't. We haven't done international travel together. We've done. We should make this happen.
Oh, you like cruises. If we did
a Rhineland cruise,
yeah, German river cruise, that sort of thing, like that could get me interested in cruising.
I've never thought of doing an international cruise. One of the reasons I like them in America is because it's just so easy and it's cheap. But flying to Germany, we'll see. We'll figure it out. Let's put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
So basically, he scratches behind Falkor's ear, and he's kind of like a dog. And
Falkor's adorable.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not your only friend. Look over there in that little hole." And he goes and he looks, and it seems the landscape seems all alien, like a moon or something. It's crazy.
It is real. It does seem, and so that's how geography of Fantasia doesn't make sense. The only constant is the ivory tower, which is at the center of everything. And then basically anything that exists in fantasy is there, and they're all different countries of Fantasia, and where they are in relation to each other, it never stays the same. The only thing that stays the same is the ivory tower.
The realms of dread in Ravenloft.
Yeah, it all just is constantly shifting around.
And he looks in, and he sees an old man drawing in a grimoire. And there's this old lady who, this is really probably... I don't know if it's sexist or not, because this is just my childlike perception. I thought the old man gnome was adorable for, like that adorable old man kind of idea. But I always thought that the old woman gnome was scary.
That is fascinating. I'm the opposite.
Whoa.
So Ingi Wook, played by Sidney Bromley, repulsed me. He has this one tooth in the front. And
I always got a laugh out of the one tooth.
No, I would much prefer Patricia Hayes, who's playing Urgel, the wife of Ingi Wook. And she has like sort of buck teeth like a mouse. Like she looks like one of the Littles, if you remember that cartoon. And I imprinted on Urgel way more than Ingi Wook. Ingi Wook I was scared of. And, I guess it comes childhood stuff. my mother was gone. My dad was there in the theater with me. I have men in my life. I was looking for a mother figure.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I live with my mom, and I was looking.
Yeah.
I guess that's really weird, but like I love the dialogue. It's just so funny. It's like, get out of my light, wench! You're disturbing my scientific work. I always just got a laugh out of that, and then I love that she's making a potion, and she like. She ends up telling Atreyu, they notice Atreyu and they're talking to him, and she gives him a potion to drink. And I love how she lists the names of the things in the potion. And my favorite ingredient has always been scales from a rancid sea serpent. I always thought that would make like a great grindcore album name.
Scales from a rancid sea serpent. That could be a song title for Oxygen Destroyer for sure. That's totally their vibe.
Yeah, I love that one. And then they decide, like, they're talking about the oracle, and then they're like, to the wench.
You know, I would have swore that came from The Princess Bride, because I've said that so many times. Sorry, Lisa, that I've said that too many, many times.
I used to say that to my little sister constantly when I was a kid. And I don't know. This movie was ridiculously quotable for me.
Oh yeah, it's all great. And God, I didn't get it in my notes, but they call themselves, or Ingewook calls them the nomadics or something like that, because they're both gnome scientists. And like he says, like, maybe you've heard of me. I'm Ingewook, and Atreyu's like, no, never heard of you. He goes, well, you don't run in scientific circles.
Yeah,
yeah, because she's a doctor and he's like a archaeologist basically, and so they're both serious scientific gnomes. And I like when science and fantasy kind of run into each other. It's always a fun mix.
I love sci-fantasy, if you will. I always think that is the way.
And luckily, Ingewook's area of expertise, of course, Falkor took him to the place that he
to the right place.
To the right place, because that's how luck works.
Sure.
His area of expertise is the Southern Oracle. And so Ingewook he's prepared to exposit on the Oracle and the three gates to Atreyu.
And I love how they're and they come up to the telescope, and it has like the crystals and these colored fluids, and he's like aiming it, and he's like, here comes a one that looks fancy, and the dude in the armor is kind of a Black Knight look.
Yeah,
I thought that guy looked dope.
He does look dope. And this whole scene, the practical effects, part of the reason why this movie holds up so well is all of these great practical effects, because it just occurred to me, because I was like, I'm always trying to pick, is this a composite where you took two things? Is it forced perspective where you're shooting in camera and the person that's supposed to be little, Ingewook, is just way back, and they're acting as though they're in the same space, but Atreyu is much closer to the camera.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that. But then when Atreyu is kind of going up the hill to get to the telescope and Ingewook is riding the cart up, that's all puppets. This is like a big miniature that our full-size Noah Hathaway is walking around in, and Urgel is a little animatronic that's cranking the winch, but you don't really look close at her. You just look at Atreyu.
There's
just great effects in this movie.
That really makes it believable, because you're not looking at cheap animation that doesn't stand up today.
It's all practical stuff.
Yeah, I really like that. And so they watch this Black Knight guy, and he's like riding. He's like approaches, and then he like hesitates, and Ingewook yells out, "Scaredy cat!" And I was like, "How dare you? How dare you? You who stands on the side
and watches.
You go yourself."
Yeah, he's never been.
Yeah,
all of his research is from watching from afar and talking to people who have come back. And no one has ever explained the third gate to him. His knowledge doesn't extend that far.
Yeah. And so the Black Knight guy tries to go through, and then the sphinxes of the Southern Oracle, they shoot lasers out. And we didn't really mention what these look like. They're big winged sphinx statues. There's two of them facing each other, making kind of a gate. And if they were D&D monsters, they'd be Gyna sphinxes as opposed to Andra sphinxes.
Oh, okay.
And so they shoot lasers and they just kill him dead.
Yeah, because this detailed quite a bit more in the book. Nothing can withstand a sphinx's gaze except for another sphinx.
Oh.
So that's why the two sphinxes are facing each other and looking each other in the eyes, because the only thing that can look at a sphinx is a sphinx.
Nice.
Yeah, so Michael Ende, the author of the book, this is one of his big bones because he doesn't like the boobs on the sphinxes.
Oh,
he said
they had nipples and stuff.
He said they look like full bosom strippers, and he was very offended by the sphinxes. I can say as a kid, and there's not many people that are more boob obsessed than I am. I didn't even think about it. Honestly.
Yeah, they were just statues to me.
Yeah, it's not, even though they do have boobs, it's not sexualized at all.
No, they're carved of stone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, the things that adults worry about, because I don't think kids don't see the world the same way adults do.
No.
There's nothing sexual there, so there's nothing to perceive that way. That's just my take.
Yeah, and one of the things that Engelwick tells Atreus is the sphinxes can see straight into your heart. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you don't know your own value, you can't make it through. So you have to be fully confident and self-assured in order to go through. And then Atreus, seeing this dude get shot down, is like, okay, I'm going. Yeah. And he just runs.
Yeah, because
he's a kid.
He's a kid, and that's that thing where if I don't jump off this cliff now, I'm never going to do it. Like, I have to do it now while I have the resolve, especially when you tell me resolve is the key component to making it through.
For sure. And I like he's going up, and then we see Engelwick looking at him through the telescope, and he's all worried about it. And it's like, be confident. And then Atreyu hesitates, and then, of course, Engelwick yells out, run, Atreyu. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Bastian yells out, run, Atreyu, run.
Yeah.
And so Atreyu runs.
You know, now you mention that, it makes me forget that Bastian screamed when we met Morla, the Ancient One.
Oh.
And Morla and Atreyu both heard it.
Oh, yeah. We forgot to mention that.
We did brush over that because Bastian is much more active in the story than he realizes.
Yeah, and in the beginning and through most of it, he's just silent.
Yeah,
because he's reading.
Right.
But sometimes he yells out, and it affects the story.
Right.
And then, of course, he runs and he makes it through, and the lasers go. But before he goes through, I love it when he kind of opens the knight's visor, and it's just a grim, roasted dude. I'm just like, ooh. When I was a kid, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, because the first Sphinx Gate is littered with dead. Like, there's just skeletons and stuff. Like, the Sphinxes, if the Sphinx gazes upon you, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is very grim, and this all is very scary to a little kid. It all works.
Yeah.
Next up is the Magic Mirror Gate.
Yeah, so he crosses the first gate, and then when he gets to the second gate, it's just a mirror in kind of a wintry hellscape. And the mirror shows your true self, and he's looking, and it reveals Bastian.
Yeah, which is a trip for both of the kids.
Yeah, because Bastian freaks out. It's like way too meta for him.
Right? And that's why I said it's a Meta Textual-Fairy Tale, because it's a story within a story, and it's like Bastian throws the book.
Yeah, he chucks the book. He's like, no. And then he goes over and he lights candles.
Very dramatic.
And it's no big deal. He's just going to stay the night at the school, I guess, whatever, and read by candlelight. And he gets the book and he starts reading it again. And
I would say, as much as as a kid, identified with Bastian, one thing that I've never in my whole life done is thrown a book. I am so, like, when he throws the book, I think about the creased pages, potentially broken binding. What if the Orin came off I think of all of the ways you could damage, like a leather-bound tome like that. I would never, ever do. Things are much too precious to me to ever throw a book.
I want to say that I feel the same, but generally speaking, when I was in middle school, I was reading a book and it upset me so much, I threw it across the room and I left it there. And I think I picked it up months later while I was cleaning my bedroom.
I hid books. Like when I was upset about it, speaking about the Big Bad Wolf earlier, I had a Little Red Riding Hood book from when I was a little kid. And it was just too disturbing to me. I didn't even like seeing the spine of it on my bookshelf. And so I pulled the bookshelf forward and put it behind it and pressed it against the wall. And I did not pull that shelf out again until I was at least 13.
Wow.
Like I was just like, no.
You don't exist.
Yeah. And then I looked at, and it's not even scary at all because it's a little kid's book. But it was like, as a little kid, that wolf scared me so much. I had to hide that book away. But I didn't throw it. I never throw a book. I just wouldn't do it.
That's funny. And so it goes back into Fantasia, cuts back from Bastian, and he's approaching this the third gate, the Southern Oracle.
Yeah, because Atreyu just walks through the
he just
mirror
walks
gate.
through it. And the Southern Oracle looks just like the Sphinx gates, the statues, but they're blue. They're not red.
Yeah, and this is a big departure from the book because it'd just be hard to do. The third gate in the book is called the no key door, and it's, as described, it's a door with no key, and it only opens when you forget why you wanted it to open. Oh. And so there's just no practical way to represent something that's all in Atreyu's head. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So instead, we just get a repeat of the Sphinxes.
Yeah, and they basically tell him, they're like, the only way to save the Empress is you got to find a human child that lives beyond the boundaries of Fantasia. Yeah. And he needs to give her a new name.
Yeah, which makes Bastian ponder what he would name the childlike Empress, and he thinks about his dead mother and her wonderful name.
Yeah, he's like, what a shame they don't ask me. Yeah. My mother, she had a wonderful name.
oh, Bastian. Never change Bastian Balthazar books. You very annoying little boy.
Yeah, I hated this kid.
Oh, but those annoying little boys grow up to be podcasters.
And all 50 of you out there listening to us, we thank you.
Yeah. So Atreyu, who's just quest objective after quest objective, just leads him to some other unachievable goal. Yeah. Soldiers on.
The nothing is like a storm, and it's kind of going across the land. And Atreyu is flying away on Falkor. Yeah. And the storm comes and kind of knocks Atreyu off of Falkor's back over the Sea of Possibilities, and he loses the Orin.
Yeah. And so
imagine you only have one magic item. You're an adventurer with one magic item, and then your DM is like, make a saving throw. And you fail it, and you fall off, and you lose your one item.
It is athletic saving throw to stay on your mount.
Oh yeah.
And so he rolled the one because he fell off the mount and lost his one item.
Yeah, that's definitely, he rolled a 1, and the DM is like, well, fuck you.
Yeah. So I want to talk about these effects here, because it's the same effects as when the movie opened, this sort of roiling sky effect. Yeah. And
it's just drone footage.
No.
I'm just kidding.
So you get that effect.
It's the drone footage, like the intro to Interview with the Vampire.
Yes, when you fly a drone into the nothing, that's what it films. No, so you get those effects from inserting dyes or like colored oils into saline solution.
Oh, okay.
And that's
nerdy.
Yeah, this is an effect I recognize. They use it a lot to simulate skies. You use it to simulate explosions, like mushroom clouds and stuff. And and they're really effective because it looks so otherworldly, right?
Yeah.
And like everything, this is more involved in the book, and it involves like cloud or wind giants from the four corners of the world and all of this stuff. And this is a good, I think, show don't tell, where it evokes a scene from the book without explaining like pages of mythology to you.
Yeah.
Because there's no time for it at this point in the story.
One thing that really strikes me kind of at this point, like him waking up on the shore after all this, first of all, this is very clearly an adaptation for a book made before they decided to just, all modern adaptations are loosely inspired by the book and heavily Hollywoodized. Not so much this. This is this weird non-linear series of events that just sort of happen that works in a book because you get the long form narrative.
Yeah.
But in a movie, it almost feels like scene salad. Like it's just a bunch of stuff thrown in a bowl and mixed up. But this at least feels like a storybook. Like you're watching this and you're like, oh shit, what happens next? Like when you're reading a book, you just turn the page. It's not so much about them crafting an experience like watching a movie. It's more like a book. And so I really like these older adaptations that have that still booky vibe.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's true. And I think up until this point, the things that it's cut out of the book are all kind of forgivable because of the budgetary and like technology restraints that they were under. Like there's a sort of swarm of spiders that Falkor fights in the book.
Oh man.
That form a giant spider. It's like a million little spiders that make a big spider.
Oh, cool.
And
it's kind of like Harry Potter-ish.
Yeah. Like, and that's a good, I think this book is very much the Harry Potter of its era, right? Especially in
I'm
Europe.
I'm say this with authoritative assurance. This is better than Harry Potter.
Oof.
The first Harry Potter movie versus the Neverending Story, this crushes it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not going there with you, but
Atreyu would literally pimp slap Harry Potter.
the boy who lived versus the boy who thrived.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the warrior that hunts the purple buffalo. You're a bitch who lives under the stairs.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm an orphan too. What's up? Look at me thriving.
Exactly.
Okay.
I guess Harry would be Bastion if we're being real.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, let's not go too deep into Harry
Potter.
Potter.
Are our thing.
So Bastion, he rolls a 1, falls off Falkor, loses the orange.
Side jaunt. Hold on. Why haven't we done Harry Potter anything on this show?
I don't know. It's tough to touch Harry Potter.
It's true with J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Side jaunt over. We're not going to do it.
Fair. And so Atreyu washes up on a real beach in Spain, which anytime it's like one of the first. No,
why are they always making this kid wet?
I know. Noah Hathaway, man, suffered for this movie.
I hate getting wet. I don't know about you, but I hate getting wet. It's the shower only.
Oh, dude, I like
getting
baths.
wet in any other way. I don't like pools.
Hot tubs.
I don't like baths. I don't like hot tubs. I don't like beaches. I only like the shower. I like being dry. I would hate a swamp. So I would never go.
I know that's why I've never been to Florida or Louisiana, Alabama.
I mean, I've been to Louisiana, but I stayed away
Georgia.
from the swamp.
There's stuff in those states I'm interested in, but
Yeah, I'd like to see an alligator.
I would love to see an alligator.
Like in the wild, not like a gator in the...
I got to pet an alligator, a baby one, last year at a little comic convention thing.
That seems cool.
They're cold-blooded, right? So they're not like, they don't have like ambient warmth coming out of them. Sure. So it is literally like touching like an alligator purse or boots. It's the weirdest thing. It's like a live creature, and you've touched that skin before.
Yeah.
But this live thing feels just like the dead thing. Like they feel exactly the same. It's very weird. Anyways, Atreyu, he's on a beach in Spain. One of the first times he's been outside since the original montage at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and there's wolf tracks in the sand.
Yeah, and he is in a place called Spook City. It's never named in the...
That's a dumb name.
Spook City is a pretty cool place in Fantasia, though, because it's where all the vampires and werewolves and like it's the Ravenloft of Fantasia.
Nice.
And he runs in right away. He runs into the rockbiter, and
they look like big, strong, good, strong hands. He lost his little bros.
I could cry right now. Alan Oppenheimer.
You can't lose the Night Hob. Oh, he's my favorite.
I love that those three guys, and this is sort of talked about. The movie ends on this line, and it's used many times during the book. But that's another story and shall be told another time.
I want
the Night Hob, the Rockbiter, and the Teeny Weeny become fast friends with each other and adventure together.
I want a movie about their adventures.
It would be something.
You know, even an animated movie would be dope. Like, give us like a Titmouse Studios.
Just the rock. Yeah.
And I want a prequel of how each of them becomes the emissary, like, of how they get picked. Yeah. Like, they're like Night Hob and his shenanigans and how he has a sleepy bat and all this stuff. I want to know about all this.
It's the book is tantalizing that way, where it gives you all these. It starts.
Is the author still alive?
Michael Ende? Yeah, I think he is.
Let's write him. Let's send him a letter.
Maybe we get to the end and talk about this, because he's disowned this film and is blocking any further adaptions. And I really I feel there's easily two good movies worth of material in that book, with modern special effects that we could have now that could really be something amazing.
And we could really get an orcish Atreyu.
Oh, where he's green?
Yeah. Imagine like a young thrall, like walking forward. Yeah.
They never describe him as being beastly.
I know, but I like thrall.
Well, you always say thrall is my war chief, right?
It's my war chief. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be cool. Anyway, so Atreyu is like he finds a rock biter, and it's sadness, and he lost his little dudes. And I was really sad when I was a kid at the implication. And the rock biter is just sitting there crying, waiting to be taken away by the nothing.
Because he's given up too.
Yeah.
I mean, without friends, you don't. What's life worth living for? And he's just ready to let the nothing take him, and that fucking hurts. For like kids to deal with emotions, and really this whole story is about children processing grief. Like that's the central theme of the whole thing, right? Because Bastian lost his mom, and he's learning how to deal with it.
Atreyu lost Artax, which arguably is harsher than Bastian's loss. Okay, it's hard to say that straight.
But it's something... Fantasy gives us a way of processing our feelings, right? It contextualizes them and gives us this space where we can explore our feelings. And Bastian is going through that, right? Like he cries with Atreyu as Atreyu loses Artax, and it's a way of experiencing the grief that he's not dealt with because of his mom passing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we get characters like the Rockbiter and Morla, the Ancient One, who have lost hope, right?
Yeah.
Like they just can't persevere anymore.
And the thing is like, I always hated Morla because she started off just bitter and lame.
Yeah.
But I loved the Rockbiter, and to see him go from the what are we waiting for to I'm just going to sit here and wait for the nothing to take me. It's a sad journey. Like
it is,
you know,
it's
because
tough.
he not only did he lose his friends, he lost himself.
And I think that is something that separates like good children's entertainment from bad children's entertainment, is stuff that actually can challenge children, because this is giving you stuff that's hard for you to deal with as a little kid.
Well, this movie as a kid, and I mean almost as an adult, it takes you from rolling some tears to thrusting your fist in the sky. Like you go the full range of emotions in this movie. This is not a lukewarm movie. It takes you from hot to cold.
Yeah.
And back again. I mean, it's great. So he's exploring Spook City.
Yeah.
And I loved this part as a kid when you see the murals on the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. Like I didn't even know what it was when I was a kid, but the mosaic.
Yeah.
Like I still love mosaics. It's so cool.
And it's surreal for Atreyu because he's going through and seeing his adventure portrayed. And he sees himself in the Swamp of Sadness, and he sees himself with Morla, and he sees, I think, the Oracle and Falkor, and then he sees Gamork, who he has not encountered in person yet.
Yeah, he sees him lurking in a cave, and then he turns around and he sees Gamork lurking in the cave.
And Gamork villain-splains to Atreyu.
I love this villain-splaining. It's so good.
And again, Alan Oppenheimer, man, third voice, all distinct. None of them sound alike. I had no idea he was all three voices as a kid, or that this was the voice of Skeletor doing these three guys. I had no idea. Gamork lays it out for Atreyu.
Yeah, he basically says that Fantasia represents the collective imagination of humanity, and so it has no borders, which essentially negates the quest to find a human boy beyond the borders of Fantasia. And then it basically says that the nothing is a manifestation of the loss of hopes and dreams by humanity. So basically, he's basically saying that the nothing is made from the same people who created Fantasia. Yeah. They've lost imagination, and so this place is going away.
Yeah.
I will say that the Gamork puppet is a little herky jerky.
It benefits from being in the cave and kind of behind some brush and and all of that stuff. And this is it's much more in depth in the book. Like because Gamork, he describes himself as a werewolf, and the human side of Gamork is not in Fantasia. Gamork is a human on Earth.
Oh.
So Gamork is almost like he's the anti-Bastion, where he is someone that is destroying Fantasia rather than enriching it. And the reason why Gamork and the people that he serves or whatever in the real world want to destroy Fantasia is because people without hopes and dreams are easier to control.
Oh man! So his business.
And to take it back to your talking about Germany in this post-war period, he represents that side, that Iron Curtain. Like, these are the people that are controlled and they just live without hope.
I was saying that as I was conversing with Carrie while we were watching this, that the nothing, given the context of the creation of this, the nothing is communism.
Yeah.
And Fantasia represents freedom.
Right.
just sort of as concepts. And so, yeah. And when I was thinking about this for my own life, like the nothing is adulthood. It's the job, it's the bills, the chores, the things you don't want to do that kill your motivation to do the other things. And I'm sure we've all felt it as adults when you're like, oh man, I just want to be done with all this crap so I can do X, Y, or Z. And then by the time you're done, you're too exhausted to do it. And then you just veg out. That's the nothing.
Totally. That vegging out is the nothing, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you're spending not doing things that are enriching. And we get multiple variations on it, right? Because you have Morla, who's seen it all and just doesn't care anymore about anything. But you also have Ingiwook, like as another end of, he's lived into very old age and has never stopped questing or wondering.
Yeah, and he's like super excited about everything.
Yeah. And so it's like he's also ancient, but he's more alive than Morla is. So you are kind of seeing multiple shades of how to be an adult in this.
Yeah, for sure. And so in the end, Gamork and Atreyu are just like, all right, let's do this.
Well, Gamork lays it out that kind of he failed on his quest too, because Atreyu is like, I'm on a quest to get to the beyond the borders of Fantasia, and Gamork's like, yeah, you can't do that, kid. He's like, tough break. I was also on a quest. I was supposed to kill Atreyu, and Atreyu's like, that's when he's like, I'll get my hero's ending here.
Like, I am Atreyu. He's like, I'd rather go down fighting than let the nothing take me.
This is very different than the book.
Oh,
because in the book, Gamork is chained when Atreyu encounters him, and Atreyu, ever the optimist, wants to free Gamork because the whole thing of Gamork being chained there and then nothing taking him bums Atreyu out too much. And so Gamork dies before Atreyu can free him, but he bites onto Atreyu's leg, and it's another one of those sort of Norse mythology things because it's very Fenrisy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like how Fenris took Tyr's hand, Gamork takes Atreyu's leg, basically.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a fairly cool ending for Gamork, how he fights with Atreyu. And I don't know why Atreyu was able to find an exactly dagger-shaped stone shard on the ground. It must be Falkor's luck or something
some
like that.
residual luck he still had on him.
And I mean, it makes sense that he had to lose to Orin so he could fight Gamork.
Yeah.
Here. And he does.
He does, and I think the scene works. It's more cinematic probably than how it plays out in the book.
And this is why Atreyu is better than Harry Potter, because he would rather die fighting. He's not a sad boy.
Harry Potter fights Voldemort.
That's true. He is the boy who lives, and he did stand up for him. But this just seems more badass.
Atreyu's more of a Neville Longbottom.
Is
pulling
he?
the sword of Gryffindor out of that hat and cutting the head off the snake.
Oh, I don't know. But Neville's like a lame-o all the way up until the end.
Yeah, but
he did glow up.
He glowed there, though. When he pulls the sword out,
and he's like, what's up now? Killing that snake is dark because that was an animagus.
I know. I do. God, what's her name?
I can't remember her name either.
It's not Dratini, that's a Pokemon, but it's like Nikini or something like that.
Yeah.
It's oh man, I feel bad for Nikini.
She shouldn't have had to go down like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so then Falkor goes and retrieves the Aran from underwater.
Yeah.
He's a furry ass dragon underwater, but clearly he's not. The puppet is not underwater because the fur is just blowing like there's wind.
And that is so obviously an aquarium. Like the little ass fish, those are not sea fish. Like they're aquarium.
They literally
fish.
put an aquarium in front of the camera and filmed the puppet.
It's one of the worst effects in the movie where I was like, those fish don't look like it just. The scale, none of that works. And it's another thing in the book. I say this all the time. It's more complicated in the book. Falkor, as a luck dragon, they say luck dragons are creatures of air and fire. And water's like their Achilles heel. They can't go in the water because they breathe through their scales, and if they go in the water, they'll drown. Okay. But Falkor basically, rolls the dice because he believes in luck and goes to get the Orin.
He's like, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, and he survives because he's lucky. It's just like he just has a lot of dice to roll.
And so, and then we get to see some scenes of the Nothing taking Spook Town, and it's really cool. This is actually one of my favorite effects, the best effects following the worst effects. And so they're literally blowing away this set, this model.
Yeah.
They're destroying it, and it looks really cool. And you have Noah Hathaway hanging off a tree and like getting blown, and like crap flying around him. Poor Noah Hathaway.
He suffered for this art.
I hope he keeps getting residuals to this day.
No wonder he retired from acting. Like, this was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of child actors never become adult actors. Like, didn't the dude who played Draco Malfoy, he doesn't really do much anymore.
Oh, no, he acts.
Does he?
Yeah, he acts. He was a series regular on The Flash for a long time.
Oh, I don't watch comic book things.
Yeah, he was he played this what do you call those people? A forensic pathologist or whatever, like a crime scene investigator.
Oh, okay.
He's a good actor.
Those guys are called Dexters.
They're called Dexter. Only the murderous ones. So Falkor again saves Atreyu, brings the Orin to him, and Fantasia is just destroyed by the Nothing.
And then they're like flying. He's flying Falkor through like a nebula space void, and all you see are these asteroids. They've totally failed, but then you see the ivory tower glowing out among the fragments of the galaxy.
Yeah, they're led to it by the Orin. It's the first time we've actually seen Atreyu use the Orin,
the Force
to guide him. Yeah, which it could always do, but it's the first time we've seen him do it. Yeah, and they get to the ivory tower.
The music is really cool here. The synthy score, stuff.
Very dungeon synth.
Yeah, I love it. And I just thought Falkor's a space dragon. He doesn't need air. He can just fly through space.
He can do wherever Falkor encounters, he just makes the best of it, because that's how a luck dragon does. That's how they roll.
Yeah. And then it cuts to Sebastian, another one of these million throwaway scenes that we've mostly ignored, where he's like reading and stuff, and he's like finishing his apple, and he's like so stoked. They're like, yeah, they found the ivory tower. Yeah. And he eats the fucking apple core like a savage. He ate the whole core. Who does that?
I do that.
Are you serious?
The only thing
you eat the core?
The only thing all I leave of an apple is the stem and the seeds.
The little seed pod.
And I eat absolutely everything else. I know it's unusual.
Get out of my house. You disgust me.
Lisa, I don't know what was going on. I think we were road tripping or whatever. And I was eating an apple, and I didn't even quite realize how weird this was to eat an apple top to bottom.
Yeah.
And Lisa's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just eating an apple. And she was like, you don't eat that part. And I was like, oh, I do. Yeah.
You eat apples like Bastion. That must be where you got it.
I told you, I relate to this kid.
I just saw it and I was like, what a savage.
Yeah.
No manners. This kid's a barbarian.
I guess I'm a barbarian bard multi-class.
A barbarian, if you will.
Because I eat an apple top to bottom. I don't eat around it. I just eat the whole thing till there's nothing left.
That's just so weird. And so then you go back into, Fantasia, what's left of it, and Atreyu is facing the childlike empress. The first time we get to see her.
Yeah, and he has to go, in his mind, go and tell her he failed.
It's like, sorry, your whole empire is done because I failed.
Yeah, but childlike empress has a different take.
She's like, no, he's been with you all along.
Yeah, she
has a sing-song way of delivering her lines.
So interesting stuff. Tammy Stronach, Persian actress, and she's a dancer. She lost her front teeth when they started filming this movie, and so she's wearing a dental appliance.
Oh.
And so she had to train to speak with the dental appliance in without lisping, because
That's hard.
It's really tough. Yeah. And she gives a hell of a performance here. Like, this is some of the best child acting I've ever seen. Up there with Kirsten Dunst.
I was going to say, just below Claudia.
Right. It's right there, because some little girls, man, can like play your heart like a fiddle. Like when they really lock in like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, she tells Atreyu, like, no, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. And this is some harsh truth.
Well, and Atreyu is like, I suffered. I was so much pain. Why? And she's like, it had to happen this way. He's like, I lost my horse for this bullshit.
Right? How would you like...
Just to bring Bastion along?
How would you like to hear all of your suffering and your whole life was so a little boy from Earth who's hanging out and he's skipping class would be interested enough to read the book? Like, you had to go through all of this stuff so the kid invested in the story. And the kid is all that matters. You're actually not the protagonist of this story. You're an NPC. He's the protagonist, and it's been all about him. By the way, he's done nothing the entire time.
He sits there. And
he sits there
eating an apple like a savage.
Yeah, this is like, it's like you, at the end of Red Dead, you tell Arthur Morgan this. Oh, what now? I had to get sick. I got tuberculosis and that guy sat on his couch.
Arthur Morgan just shoot that Empress.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't get the good ending.
That's the way I played Arthur Morgan.
I got the good ending. I played him I made him suffer the most.
Yeah, and so basically, like, it basically says this is not Atreyu's story. This is Bastion's story.
Yeah.
And there will be others that follow Bastion.
Yeah. And at this point, all that's left is Bastion has to give her the name. And, you know, she's like, she pleads straight down the camera, right? She looks dead down the lens and pleads with Bastion, which is, she's pleading with you as the kid in the audience. And the meta narrative has got 3 layers now. Like, it's 3 deep. It's Atreyu's story, which is within Bastion's story, which is within your story, who's watching it. And it's, there's some lines in here where she says, like, why don't you do what you dreamed? And then he says, I had to keep my feet on the ground. And it just makes me think, holy shit, this is our own lives. Like, why don't you do what you dreamed? Because you have to go to work and you have to pay your bills, and then nothing owns your life. Your dad's like, you get up and you drink egg yolks and orange juice and you go and make dental appliances. That's what you do.
She's like, call my name. And that's like the call to, do what you dreamed.
And she's crying, and Bastion he's having that hard time, like, believing himself that he is important enough to be part of this story.
And he, like, runs up and he climbs up and he has to open the window and have the rain spatter on his face.
Very dramatic kid.
Because he couldn't just say the name.
When he gets to high school, he's going to do very well in drama. He'll probably let her. Yeah, all of this emotion will play out better for him as he gets a little bit older.
And then he screams out the name, Moonchild.
What the fuck? His mom's name was Moonchild?
Yeah.
That, in this whole fantasy movie,
that's the least
believable thing.
Why couldn't he be like, Carol?
Oh my God. It would be probably a German name. He's like, Hildegard, Balthazar books.
No, but it's Moonchild.
It's Moonchild. His mom was a hippie. That's how you put a hippie and a dental technician together and you get a Bastion.
Oh, man. That's funny. Yeah, so he calls her Moonchild, and he shows up there, and she presents him with a grain of sand, the last remnant of Fantasia. Everything else is gone.
Yeah.
And it's like glowing in his hand.
And it's just the two of them there in the nothingness, and he has to restore all Fantasia with his imagination. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you just use your wishes. How many wishes do I get? And she says, as many as you need.
Unlimited wishes is literally everyone's dream.
You got to read the book. It's more dangerous than it sounds. There's way more. This, like I said, we're not even halfway through the book at this point.
Oh, okay.
Bastion's adventure goes much longer than Atreyu's.
I'm way more interested in Atreyu.
Atreyu's there. They're homies, but...
Does he get slapped a lot?
Atreyu?
No, Bastion by Atreyu, because Bastion's kind of a weak sauce.
Bastion, I mean, at some point, Bastion damn near kills Atreyu.
Oh, wow.
It gets dark. It gets very dark.
Well, it's German.
It's German. Yeah, you have to suffer for your art.
And so Bastion recreates Fantasia. Mm-hmm. He's flying around on Falkor's back.
Yeah.
He sees Atreyu and Artax and the rock biter and the racing snail and all this stuff and Night Hob. And the music is the shit. Mm-hmm. And Falkor's like, what's your next wish going to be? And he brings Falkor to the real world to chase down the police.
Yeah.
Lame.
So this is a big departure from the book because creatures from Fantasia can't go to Earth. When they come to Earth, they become lies. Wow. And it's very dark when a creature from Fantasia, it's a creature from Earth can go to Fantasia, but the other way does not work good. Like it's a bad thing. So this is for Michael Ende. This is like a deal breaker. It's one of the main reasons he disowns the movie.
I didn't like this scene either.
He calls it's a Disney ending, and he did not like it. And I loved it as a kid. Now, as an adult, I feel it does sort of cheapen the story.
It does. It really does. And then they basically just end it with kind of a trite thing. Mm-hmm. They're like, and Bastion had many more wishes and adventures, but that's another story. And I'm just like, okay.
It's a tough ending. So, well, no, it's not a tough ending.
Except we have a dope-ass outro song, which is the same as the intro song.
It's a good song.
So what were your personal highlights? What really worked for you?
Number one, maybe this sounds weird, unflinching sadness. I think the things, like when you talk to someone about the Neverending Story, it's like, oh, did you watch Neverending Story when you were a kid? Like, yeah, when that horse died. Like, boom, you think the horse dying, you think of the sad rock biter after his friends have been taken by the nothing, and then you think about riding Falkor. You put the two sad things before the happy thing because you're not always exposed to stuff like that in your media as a kid, and I think it's important that kids are challenged, and I think that's part of why, 40 some odd years later, we're so invested in this story because it thrilled us, but it also hurt us when we were little kids. And that's why you connect so deeply with it. It gives you a full range of emotions. Mm-hmm. Number two, there's two really standout performances for me. And that's Tammy Stronach as the childlike empress and Alan Oppenheimer as Falkor, Gamork, and the Rockbiter. They emote the hell out of those characters. And like Oppenheimer especially, like he does a monologue that a rock-chewing puppet delivers, and it really hurts.
It hits hard.
Yeah, and that's so good. I won't mention again all of like the visual effects stuff because I already talked about it. So my final thing will be Klaus Doldinger's score. Like I said, this is the foundations of dungeon synth music, and I love this sort of 80s synth fantasy music.
All right. Yeah. You kind of hit the major high points.
Yeah.
I think that, of course, I fully agree on the music. I called it out a bunch of times as we went through. Mm-hmm. I will say that I normally dislike the child actors and as an adult watching these movies, but I think that this was really good. I think the casting was great. I think that, Atreyu was very convincing. The childlike empress was really convincing.
Yeah.
And they were just really great characters. I like the setting. Like, I think Fantasia was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think all of the side characters, Gamork and, the Night Hob and all of these side characters, the two gnomes, they were just really cool. Like this setting really primed me for all my other fantasy stuff that I loved. So those are the things that I really liked about this movie. So what didn't work for you?
So Michael Ende called the film a gigantic melodrama of kitsch, commerce, plush, and plastic. And I think that's a little hyperbolic, but I do understand what he's saying. I think there's the things that we connect with are moments from his book that were captured, right? Like very clearly. But I think there is things like the ending and some of the stuff that's sort of like dumbed down or brushed over. I think that there is a little bit of a hollowing out of the story. I think the story is so strong that even shaved down and hollowed out, it comes through.
Compelling.
It's still compelling, but I think we lost a lot in the adaptation. And there's parts that are like sappy, and there's stuff like the ending that are very studio driven. Like, what if he took Falkor to the real world and got vengeance on his bullies? That are not fitting the theme of the book at all, or the theme of the story.
Yeah, it's about loss.
Yeah, it's about loss. It's not. And even the wish fulfillment is wish fulfillment with a cost, And so there is children's films that are intended to be enjoyed by children that anyone can like. And then there's children's entertainment that can only be enjoyed by children. And this is it gets close to the line sometimes to being too childish.
Yeah, like only the ending is only enjoyable by kids.
Right. What about you?
So I think that the plot gets lost a little bit.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of depth in this plot line. And that's oftentimes what happens with book adaptations when they're, they're just, they're trying to shave too much. So they just, it's thin. There are no side plots in this story.
Yeah.
There's no counter narratives. I mean, there are some meta parts where it makes you think, but I think that some of it got lost. I will also say that I don't like the kid that acted Bastion. He was overacted ham. He's a ham.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I thought that you could have actually had like a depressed kid who was a little sad and a little morose. This kid is just, I don't know. He's just kind of he's just annoying.
Something. So in the book, he's always described as being fat. And I think that would add a layer to the character if he was heavy. That's not there.
Are you trying to say heavy people are sad?
No, but I'm saying it's part of his struggle, right?
Sure.
That he's going through is he's not athletic also. It's another reason why, like, he looks of a similar build to Noah Hathaway as playing Atreyu.
Yeah.
So it's like there's less of wish fulfillment there than if he was also chubby. where you like, this kid can't climb the rope in gym class, and so this is more important to him or whatever.
Yeah, I think that casting may have been a bit off. I mean, I don't know who would. I guess I would have wanted someone who was more of the mood, like the childlike empress. Obviously, I mean, I think the character of Bastion could be gender swapped in a remake quite easily. And I just think that if they were going to do a remake, they should choose a kid that's a little more just naturally morose or chill.
I've thought about this a lot because Bastion's avatar, when he goes into the story, is a Oriental prince, is sort of the way they describe him looking. I would cast probably an Indian Indo-Pac actor. So that it's not so when he shows up in a turban and stuff at the end. Yeah,
I don't even think you need to go beyond Atreyu's story. I think it ended at the right spot.
You should read the book.
They could make a sequel for.
Yeah, I think it should be 2 films for sure.
They could even split it into 3 6-hour films. Peter Jackson had
the Peter Jackson version.
Imagine if they let Peter Jackson at this. We'd get a full Gamork backstory with what he's like in the real world.
What do you think Gamork, what do you think his human life is like? That in his fantasy life, he is a hell wolf that hunts children.
He's probably a middle-aged podcaster who plays guitar in a heavy metal band.
You think so? You think that's what? No. You love fantasy.
That's true.
You're not someone that would spend your downtime destroying fantasy.
No.
He's
fantasy stuff.
He's a hedge fund manager. Like it's something
true.
like that. Where
he's like an investment broker,
or
something that just wants people to get in line and pay their bills.
He's a senator from Kentucky. It's
Judge Clarence Thomas.
Oh man, that would be so funny. Like, you see Clarence Thomas, with
an Oren book.
Atreyu stabs Gamork, and you cut to Clarence Thomas shut the book and set it down, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go do some really shitty opinions for the Supreme Court."
And his wife is cheering him on because she's horrible.
Did you stop the child from giving the childlike empress a new name? He's like, no, failed again.
And she probably would say something shitty. It's probably something stupid like Moonchild.
Oh my God.
We need the Peter Jackson version.
Yeah. It's all from Gamork's side.
Oh man, that would be great if we got a full hour and a half Gamork narrative.
Okay, here's the hard part. What do we rate this movie?
This is tough because this is where I really wish I had half stars.
Yeah, no, I get you, because it's better than a 3.
It is better than a 3.
So what is it though?
So it's not a 5-star movie because it's not perfect. There are at least 3 things that I think are problematic, but I definitely think it's a better than middling movie. So I'm going to give it a 4, but I think it could be a 4+ because this is anybody from our age group, anybody who's over 30, you literally show them the image of an Orin and they'll say, oh my God, when the horse died.
Right?
It's really important.
I'm really glad you gave it a 4 because I feel it makes me feel free to give it a 3.
Don't do that. Why do you have to be Gamork? Why you got to be Clarence Thomas?
Here's the thing. I absolutely love this. I hate Master of the Universe. I gave it 2, and I love that movie also. I love this movie, and I love the book also, I love the mythology. I love everything of it. But it has these problems that stop me from getting there to the 4.
I'm gonna before you choose your rating, I want to quickly review other things you've given 4s and 3s, so you can just sort of meta this, right?
I've thought about it. But
so you
ahead.
gave Tim Burton's Batman a 4. You gave Fight Club a 4. You gave Interview with the Vampire, The Matrix, Nightmare Before Christmas, The Crow, and The Green Knight. Y'all gave all those 4s.
Right.
You gave these movies 3s. The Fast and the Furious, Labyrinth.
Wait, which Fast and the Furious did I give it 3?
The series.
Just the whole series? Okay.
Meta, yeah. Okay. Repo Man, The Hunger, American Werewolf in London, Dracula, Lost Boys, the Hobbit, Warcraft.
This is there with all that stuff. You're listing a bunch of things that I love but think there's flaws in, and that's where I'm landing with this too. Like, I love this thing and I absolutely recommend it, but I'm sure you've got the Metacritic review there, or the score there.
I do have.
You have all
scores,
that stuff,
yeah.
And I think, like, if you look at the reviews of this movie, they're wide ranging, because I think people really they struggle with trying to balance their affection for the thing and how special it was to them with, like, the problems with it. And I think this is a very special movie, but it's not the same thing as being like a good or great movie.
So you're going to give it a 3+?
I'm going to give it a 3+, yeah.
Man, I often disagree with you.
If you had done 3, I might have done 4, because I like our average rating to kind of hit the good spot.
So the IMDb is a 7.4, Rotten Tomatoes is 81. So it's pretty much a 4-star movie.
Okay. What's that Metacritic? Because I know it's low.
Metacritic did not show on the preview thing. I mean, I can look it up specifically.
Yeah, because I think it was like 54% or something like that.
Let me look it up. But I think that Metacritic is a weird one. It's, I don't know.
Well, they're all aggregators, and it's a 30-plus-year-old movie. So,
but Metacritic seems to be the least accurate when we're looking at versus the others. Like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes almost always jive, and they usually jive with us.
Right.
Metacritic is usually like way lower. Like the meta score for this one is a 46, but the user score is a 7.3.
Yeah.
So that's really weird that they give it a 46. That doesn't make sense compared to the rest of them. Because there is something
different about, like, how much you like something and how good it is are kind of two different things, or they can be. Yeah, I don't know. I like where we're landing. I think it's pretty fair.
You're a hard sell for a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
You also didn't give The Crow 5 stars, so you low dogged the original Dune, so you're sus no matter what.
I know, it's really funny. I think I'm the harsher reviewer between the two of us in a lot of ways, but sure. I have the reputation as being he likes everything.
The thing is you're middling man.
Mm-hmm.
You never bomb things either. Like
I'm hard to impress.
You don't give things high or low. Like I gave The Hunger and Tim Burton's Batman 2s,
mm-hmm.
and I gave Labyrinth a 2.
Yeah, I don't think any of those are fair reviews.
And so you do not give high or low. Almost all your scores are 3 or 4.
4 is high.
4 is good. 5 is great.
3, I will quote the Empire podcast, which is my North Star on all these things, and I'll say a 3-star is a recommendation.
I think I'm going to quote our own podcast, because I think that we are just as qualified as them. And I think that a 3 is a middling ass recommendation, if anything. It's like,
it's a qualified
see
recommendation.
if you think about it.
Yeah.
I would not say that the Neverending Story is a qualified recommendation. I would say everybody should watch it.
I think a lot of adults would not enjoy this movie. And if you come into it without nostalgia, you probably won't enjoy it.
Do you know anybody that wouldn't like this movie?
Do I know it? I mean, Lisa didn't love it.
What's
like
wrong
if
with
you
her?
if you didn't grow up with this movie, like if you're not imprinted on it like a little duckling, it doesn't hit the same way. It hits for us because we saw it as little kids in the time when this was new and fresh.
All right, you can keep your 3+. You
allow that?
I'll allow
You
it.
allow my positive review where I say this is a really magical, important, foundational story.
I'll allow your mediocre review where you bomb this thing unduly. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back with our closing segment.
All right, welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
Well, I'm going to keep this easy for you. Not a whole lot, except for my normal stuff.
Okay.
I got a new tattoo.
Okay.
Again, this time I finished my left sleeve, the full inside of my left bicep area, all the way up to and into my armpit. He actually shaved some of the hair to get.
You got some of the tenders, man. That's tough stuff in there.
But it looks dope. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with it. And then we're scheduled up. He's going to do a finishing run on my right sleeve where he fills in some of the smaller areas with some additional dot work, little trees, some knot work here and there. So those will basically be done.
Just tie it all together.
Yeah.
Make it one of a piece with each other. Yeah.
And then I'm preparing for a disc golf doubles tournament with Carrie. It's later this month, so that'll be really fun. I went and fought in an SCA war yesterday, and that's exhausting, so I'm still physically worn out from that. I've been recording Barrowlands guitars. I have one more song left to record, and that's tomorrow. And it may seem like I keep saying we'll keep doing this. We have enough material for 2 albums, so we're trying to do a double vinyl through our record label, which is why it's so much. And also, like, I did, at least half of the bass stuff, and I'll do the vocal stuff. So a lot of it's on me.
I don't have a copy of Thane. I need a Thane in my collection.
A Thane vinyl? I can look around. I'm pretty sure I have a spare one.
Okay.
And then, of course, I am doing grad school, of which I am on my capstone research. I'm doing a research study as my capstone project. So that's what's happening in my life. I haven't been doing a lot of enthusiast stuff just because I've been so busy with my hobbies.
So no recommendations, nothing. It's not a new album or anything you've.
A recommendation. I mean, honestly, the only thing I've been watching new that I haven't watched or talked about before is The Great Pottery Throwdown. If you've ever watched The Great British Bake Off, which if you haven't, divers, you're missing out because it's great. On HBO, the streaming platform, there is a show made on the very same premise, the whole same idea, called The Great Pottery Throwdown.
Yeah.
There's 4 seasons of it, so there's a lot of material for you. They start with 10 contestants. They come in. They have to make big pottery projects that, it's done in phases because you have to do fire, decoration, and then final. And so along the way, they do these mini challenges.
Yeah.
And then so they get kind of rack up credit. Not points. You know how they don't really get points for winning. It's just sort of taken into consideration at the end when they're choosing the baker of the week or whatever, or star baker. In this one, they choose pot of the week, and then they send somebody home every week. So it's the exact same show format, but it's pottery. So it's awesome. If you at all like pottery or ceramics or anything like that, anything vaguely artistic, Great Pottery Throwdown is hella good. I'm on season 2. They're hour-long episodes, so you can't. I mean, you could power through it, but it's a lot.
That's really interesting.
And it's British TV.
Yeah. Have you ever done pottery, like on a wheel? Like, have you done that stuff?
I have. I did it in high school, and then I have a bit of experience with pottery. But I would not say I am a potter. I know potters. I'll say that.
Yeah. No, it's something. I did a lot of art in high school as well. I did, special projects, which gave you opportunity to do everything.
Yeah, that's the art teachers, teachers' pets.
Yeah. And I do not have the aptitude, but I have a lot of respect for it, because I know that sense of when you've got something on the wheel and then you touch it the wrong way and it all collapses.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. It hurts so bad. Or you made the thing and you glazed it and you put it in the kiln. Yeah. And something goes wrong in the kiln. Oh.
Or your neighbor's thing exploded and shrapnel's yours.
Oh, man. Yeah. So you've already sold me on this pottery throwdown.
Yeah. You should watch it.
Okay.
It's good. I don't even know who told Carrie about it, but someone told her about it. And she knows I'm on the hook for unscripted TV. That's my favorite kind. And I'm not saying like air quotes reality shows, because they're generally considered trash TV. But something like Bake Off or Pottery Throwdown, I guess it is reality TV, but these are just nice people doing nice things. They're not it's not like catty, annoying in Love Island or something. You know?
So it's like Bake Off, where people encourage each other.
Yeah,
and
they
celebrate.
help each other.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm done early, I'm going to help you.
That is one of my favorite things about Bake Off, honestly, is like when someone gets done early and helps the other.
Yeah,
bakers.
they make friends with each other. They're very nice. You start liking the people. Like, you're like, I don't really like that guy's pottery, but he seems like such a nice dude.
Right.
Like that kind of thing. So it's wholesome TV. You can definitely.
And that's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Check it out. Great Pottery Throwdown. What about you? What are you into right now?
So I've got 2 picks for right now, a Dave pick and a Nick pick.
Oh, man.
My Dave pick is Reacher on Amazon.
Dave pick sounds like some other kind of pick.
My Dave pick is Reacher on Amazon. The series is created by Nick Santora, based on the Jack Reacher novel series by Lee Child.
Okay.
Which, just a little background, Lee Child is a British author, and Lee Child is a pen name. And there is this sort of cartoonish Americanness to the series that I think is hilarious, that this is like a British idea of an American, like, special forces, drifter, military, policeman, special investigator, Ubermensch, who just sort of like wanders into town and rights wrongs and kills bad guys brutally.
So have you read any of the books?
I've never read the books, nor seen the films that starred Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher, which Tom Cruise does not fit the bill of Jack Reacher the way he's described.
It's not big enough.
Yeah. Alan Ritchson, who is an actor I really like. He's been in a ton of comic booky stuff. Like he played Hawk on Titans, and he was Raphael in the 2 most recent Ninja Turtle movies. And like he was Aquaman on Smallville. Like, he's done a lot of comic book stuff. But he's just made to play Jack Reacher. And it's such it's a dad show in this like it's like an 80s action movie as a 12 episode TV show.
So why is this the Dave choice?
Because it's the sort of thing that you really enjoy. You really like Jack Reacher and how he handles business. It's the sort of thing that you really like.
So I'm seeing that the author puts out 1 a year.
Yeah.
And they're 26 in. Mm-hmm. Wow.
He's prolific. Yeah.
He's like a Sanderson.
Mm-hmm. And so this first book, or the first season, adapts one of the books. And, this will probably go on for many seasons.
I mean, they have 26 books worth of material.
You might as well. And Alan Richardson read all the books. Like he has internalized and then personified Jack Reacher.
Well, that's
who
cool.
is a guy so tough that even his mother called him Reacher when he's a little boy.
So this guy Richardson, he kind of did with Reacher like Henry Cavill did with The Witcher. He is Geralt.
Yes, he is.
Okay, I would like that because I like it when an actor has mad love for the material. You can feel it when you watch it.
Yeah, and it's just I really like Alan Richardson because I'm a nerd, so I've watched all of these things that he was in. I stopped watching Titans when they killed his character.
Because that's why I threw that book across the room as a middle schooler. When my favorite character died, I was like, I don't care what happens to the rest of them.
Yeah. And who's the other guy in this show that I love? It's Malcolm Goodwin, who plays Oscar Finley, who's the uptight Boston detective who is down here in the Deep South. That has to kind of partner with Reacher to solve the mystery. And he played practically the same uptight detective on a show called iZombie on the CW.
Okay.
Which I also loved. And so it's like two guys that I've liked in other things. And it's like these movies that we grew up on, like the vigilante movies, right? Reacher won't hesitate to shoot a bad guy in the back. Or stomp on someone's neck when they're already on the ground. Reacher murders dispassionately, and it's always
okay.
It's always fun.
I'm sold.
Okay,
because I think if you are a good guy and someone is blatantly, bad guy, and it's black and white, right?
Yeah.
You should not feel bad about shooting them in the back.
It's like the Punisher, right? The Punisher, I love this character, especially like the John Bernthal version of it, because it's a fantasy and because he never shoots the wrong guy.
Yeah.
So if the Punisher beats you to death with a cinder block, it's because you are a horrible person and you deserved it.
Yeah.
In real life, I don't condone these sort of things, but in a fantasy situation where it's always the right guy and they deserve it, it's fun to watch the right guy get bashed in the head. It's
one of those deals where you ask yourself okay, in your ultimate power fantasy, you want to be a horrible person? No, in my ultimate power fantasy, I want to fuck up the horrible people.
Yeah, to punish the wicked and reward the righteous.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in a fantasy, you always know who's who, and you have no implicit bias.
Yeah, it's not gray. They're bad.
Yeah,
they deserve it.
That's why. And since let's talk about Punisher for a second. When you see these stickers with the blue flag Punisher sticker, it disturbs me. Even though I like this character, it disturbs me when there's a law enforcement officer that identifies with this person because he's a real person with real biases and
real power
to dole out life and death. And I don't want him living a power fantasy. I want him to follow the rules. But a fantasy character doesn't have to follow those rules. That's why it's a fantasy.
It's just like same thing. Like I don't care when I see some dweeby kid or nerd guy with a Deadpool or Punisher thing on, idolizing an ultraviolence character, whatever. But if you actually are a person who is charged with using force on other people, I'd prefer you idolize
Captain America,
paladin type characters. Yeah, not brutal executioners. Right. I want you to idealize Captain America.
Yes.
Just for, selfishly.
Because you just can't trust a real person to be judge, jury, and executioner.
You can't trust a real Punisher.
Yeah. No one who would want to be the Punisher should be the Punisher.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then my nitpick is
more hoof trimming or some shit like that. Did you
intensive
find a
agriculture
show about shaving or some shit?
No, it is Our Flag Means Death on HBO
I
Max.
watched that.
Did you watch
Yes.
it? Okay. It's created by
I watched it on your recommendation.
Oh, I hadn't. I just watched it just recently.
No, we were chatting about Taika Waititi, and you said
okay.
it was coming out.
Oh,
So
okay.
I checked it out.
Okay, so yes, created by David Jenkins, starring Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi. It's a historical pirate rom-com.
It's a historical pirate queer rom-com.
Yeah, and it's based, they say based. I would rather say inspired by the true story of an 18th century would-be pirate called Stede Bonnet, also known as the Gentleman Pirate. He was the son of a wealthy English Barbadian family, and he walked away from his life of privilege to become a pirate captain. And he ended up somehow partnering up with the historical infamous pirate Blackbeard, and they sailed together and did these things. And this little nugget of reality is what this romantic comedy is based around.
Yeah.
And it takes a few episodes to get its legs, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. So like when Carrie and I were watching it, after one episode, I was like, I don't really kind of care about this. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, I don't care either. And I was like, let's give it another one. And after the second one, I was slightly more interested, but then after that, it gets progressively more interesting. And as soon as Taika Waititi is on the screen a lot, you're just in.
Yeah, that's when it really locks in.
He is so good. He is so good.
And so him and Rhys Darby, who I think Taika was never on screen in Flight of the Conchords, but he was involved in that. And Rhys Darby was a major character in Flight of the Conchords. They're magic together. They're just so good together. And
I love all the side characters on the crew. It's really good. And I really want to see the next season.
Well, it hasn't been ordered yet. So that's the thing. So
it leaves you on a cliffhanger.
I think it's doing good numbers. It's always hard to kind of get hard numbers on how many streams or anything like that. They keep that stuff very close, but it's getting
especially HBO.
It's getting a lot of streams, but there has been some like, hold on, I didn't know they were going to be gay.
Yeah, how did you make Blackbeard gay?
Yeah, like there has been that reaction from certain corners of the internet. It's not like there's butt fucking, man. Like it's
even if there was, I don't care.
Yeah, but it's not that kind of show. Like it's not an explicit show at all.
No, it's not explicit at all. There's like a kiss.
Yeah. It's very tame, and if you can't handle it, man, then you couldn't handle piracy at all. Come on, be real. Like whoa. Murder, yes. Two boys kissing each other. No. Yeah. So anyways.
That show was really good. So those were two Dave picks.
Those are two. No. That's a Nick pick that Dave also likes. And Reacher is a Dave pick that Nick also likes.
Now I'm going to have to check out Reacher after the current season of Great Pottery Throwdown.
When it wraps up.
Yeah.
All right. Call to action.
All right. So subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. On those platforms, you can rate us, specifically with thumbs ups on YouTube. Spotify and Audible have more robust ratings. But if you comment on our videos on YouTube, that helps us in the algorithm. Don't forget to leave us a review no matter where you listen to us. A 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find us on all social media platforms across the Metaverse as Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Twitter, which Dave prefers, and actually I kind of prefer to, Instagram, which ostensibly is the one that I prefer, and Pinterest, which I don't update anymore and no one likes.
Rip Pinterest. Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.